last drink?
I'm good, just making the world a better place, that's all.
Yes. Today begins a new order. Your lands, your possessions, your very lives will gladly be given in tribute to me. In return for your obedience, you will enjoy my generous protection. In other words, you will be allowed to live.
Yeah. Freedom's been overthrown by skull and bone scrolling key lunatics, upside down crucifix on they rosary. It's the home of the brave land of the supposed free and trilateral commission expeditions overseas. Opposing me's a socially accepted secret known to me. The Jason group mistakes the truth as its golden fleece. Am I supposed to believe Masons who have a mixture of Satan and Catholic scripture trading some gas to Hitler? Should I believe when your forefathers Jack the Ripper and you worship statues in the forest and practice Wicca? I've seen it unfold. Summer season, reading a scroll, translating Mason, speaking in code at Bohemian Grove. Prince Bernard of the Netherlands left some evidence, and the Bilderberg shows our presidents ever since. Veteran Illuminati invaded the Scottish Rite, denounced God and Christ, worship man and forgot the light. So I gotta fight, cause I don't care how it sounds. The CIA planted C4 to bring the towers down. Planes hit, a weapons born, tracking us with echelon when video exists of a missile hitting the Pentagon. What a masterpiece, the past repeats, it's never gone. In daddy's footsteps, Junior reenacts Desert Storm like let's get it on. Act righteous, cause a fast crisis, double gas prices, and blame the fact we tax hiked it. But observant optics can see through a vermin's logic to just turn a profit and fatten Halliburton's pockets, making Satan's fire lakes out a higher place. So this time I break, there's only so much I can take. Here's the truth, we the people have been seeing your attempts and realize we the ones you declared war against. Here's the truth, I refuse to have you controlling me with my faith in a bunch of snakes, I just don't believe. Here's the truth, we the people have been seeing your attempts and realize we the ones you declared war against. Here's the truth, I refuse to have you controlling me with my faith in a bunch of snakes, I just don't believe. The Holy Roman crown is sacred, and it seems the house of David left black nobility and Jesus somehow related. Black don't refer to the color of these cowards' faces. Their powder-pasted skin makes them the proudest races. Illuminated lineage of lonely chromosomes, known for seeking the return of the Holy Roman throne. Committee of 300 calling shots close to home, tapping in your mobile phones, matching up your vocal tones. It's your darkest beliefs started with Harvard's elite and Yale's fraternal orders marketing the market of beasts, deceiving as a demon playing the part of a priest. Habsburgs causing famine while we starve in the streets. Old school psychology facing fate of numerology, the newest colony and Lucifer's future prophecy. An aristocracy with souls in the devil's hands, an architecture plan, city streets designed as pentagrams, hidden cams on every inch of this blessed land. A very chip GPS attached to your genetic strands. But I'll be damned if I allow some coward to drown me in the powers he proudly learned from Aleister Crowley. Cause out of my county on the turnpike, word life, there's Nazi propaganda promoting Bush's Third Reich. Turn right at the left wing and find these cult leaders and expose FEMA before you take the fall like cold fevers. No Geneva Convention, peace treaty, you'll be safe when the elite make a one world government police state. I know y'all relate and even I hope I'm wrong, but I know I'm not, cause I know what the fuck is going on. Here's the truth, we the people have been seeing your attempts and realize we the ones you declared war against. Here's the truth, I refuse to have you controlling me with my faith in a bunch of snakes, I just don't believe. Here's the truth, we the people have been seeing your attempts and realize we the ones you declared war against. Here's the truth, I refuse to have you controlling me with my faith in a bunch of snakes, I just don't believe.
Peace to the gods. Dominic, Michigander. Yeah. It's created the problem, reaction, solution. They create the problem and the solution. They profit off both ends while we fall for that illusion. And not we, I mean the people fall for an illusion, like they're doing now, when they have been doing with that September one and with a lot of these pow pow events. They use that to imminent more laws to their advantage, and they're in the process of imminent imminenting more laws for pow pow control, and it's sad because it's going against the people who can legally carry, when you would think they would want you to legally carry, because the people illegally carrying, it's not going to stop them. It's just putting more pressure on the people who legally carry. It's ridiculous. That's diabolic. And that's his perception. We the people, I don't care about none of that. I know who the enemy is. Whatever label they want to put on themselves, or labels really don't matter. It's just a group of people that want to identify as a label. There's hundreds and thousands of labels of so-called secret societies that ain't too secret. Except for the main people in power. They probably put fake names, and they're never seen anywhere. They probably travel underground. They move very carefully, because if you cut the head off the snake, they don't want that. But anyway, I get what you're saying, Dominic. It's like many people don't agree with reading books of the so-called enemy, but Manly P. Hall is dead, and a lot of stuff he says takes the spookism out of this religion crap, and speaks of the true form. Anyway, I was busy uploading all these chapters, and I still have one more to upload, and chapter 6 and 7 will be uploaded tomorrow. I'm not going to do them all at once. I'm coming, whoever's in the back. Dominic wouldn't let me go to there. What's up, Dominic?
Hi, Charles. Oh, no, continue, Charles. I'm sorry. I just kind of jumped in. I can sit in the back.
I appreciate you explaining the We the People part, because I didn't know that until you explained it, honestly. But now I know, which is a great thing. I always thought we were the people, but when you explained it, it made more sense that they are talking. Now, when I read it, the Constitution and all that, it makes more sense that, you know, they're talking about their people as in the lodge, you know, and even the lower people in that lodge, they really don't care about them. They're using them. They're talking about the upper echelon, the top dogs. Yeah, the lower people, they just use them to get money and pay their dues, you know.
They might be
Other
aware.
than that, they really don't care about them people.
Well, even if they do, they probably wouldn't know what to do about it. Like, they speak openly, hence spoken in
How
broad
come I can't
daylight.
hear you? Oh, what were you saying? That was me. That was my fucking headphones. Sorry.
No,
What
I
were
was
you
just
saying?
the people at the bottom, whoever they may be, they might be aware. You know, they just use terms openly. They're talking and using their media to talk openly. This is why people forget, whether it's a chancellor, who else? You could say prime minister, dictator. When they're reading from a handed script, they're saying, you know, you could change the word people to nobles. So this is where the concept Freemason comes from. You know, when they say words like passing a budget, they're talking among themselves. They really don't care about us. They're counting on most people being ignorant, being
Yep.
unaware, and then they give us word like secret. If you're aware, there is no such thing as secret. But they use words like that. That was the cliche in the 20s, secret ages, you know, whether it's Manly P. Hall could have just been an aware being. And like what they usually do, they'll twist everything around. You know, same with Alice Bailey. I think she got booted out most of those clubs because they're not going to grasp what she's about, especially when it's about helping humanity or the beings that we are. You know, it's business as usual for them. You know, whether they hide behind G8s, the United Nations, the people that are probably in those situations probably aren't aware. They're not even aware that they're agents. And the ones that are, either A, they know their place. They're first, second, fourth, 30th degree somebody. So, but once people start understanding that, you're going inwards and say, okay, what does it mean when I hear the word people over and over again? And then they say, well, it has nothing to do with you, Dom. Oh, okay. So I got that out of the way. So then you can start probing in, and then you start reviewing things, even biblically. Once you start changing certain words or understanding what it means, then you'll understand. So what do they mean when they're talking about a Lord opposed to a Lord God or a God? Those are different entities. Oh, but I assume, there's the problem. We assume they all mean the same.
Yeah, the Lord one. One day I was watching the old kung fu flicks, and they always say they reply to their master as Lord,
Yep.
and it made me think the Western society thinks Lord as Jesus, or you know, and I look at Jesus differently now because they call him Lord. You know, was he just a fucking leader, like you know, someone high up in his degrees? I don't know, like
Lord usually means ruler.
yeah.
You rule over me. So then there's the Lord God kind of ideal, more into
I
formation.
was
And
yep.
so this
No,
is
no,
why
no. I
they're
was
called,
disagreeing.
yeah, this is why we have things called landlords. Now, a guy that's in the housing business will say, well, Dominic, I'm a landlord. I said, you've never been a landlord. You're in the
My
housing business.
landlord just came today, this morning, knocked at my door.
But that's the thing. We enforce it by saying these terms, unless we ask more questions, such as, okay, say this guy say he's a landlord. I said, so what are your titles? What do you mean? If he tells me he pays taxes, he's not a landlord. He's paying tribute at that point. Now, if he turns around and says, okay, but I can't tell Charles that I actually have allodial titles, so I actually don't pay tribute to the government. So I have land leased and it's free because they already collect enough taxes from them. But this is why when people say sloppily, I'm a landlord, I said, what does that mean? They understand what ruling the land means. They convince the masses to think, we'll convince them they can own land and then we can take it from them. And then we'll start putting tribute on top of it. You can't own fucking land. And if you do, what are you going to do? You're going to ask for terrain? Again, this is where tribal people would understand. Certain people would have gifts and they can communicate with nature.
I was just that's crazy you brought that up because I was just speaking to my roommate this morning about how these people allegedly buy everything up, and by a piece of paper they say they own it, but it's just a piece of paper, and we're the idiots in a way who follow along with it. Piece of paper don't mean shit. Maybe in their system it does, but in reality they don't own it. They just say they own it and we follow along with it, which it blows my mind. It's like a lot of things I'd be like, just why do we even go along with this?
Conditioning. A lot of it's
Yeah.
conditioning. Pen to paper is a condition to no end. It actually over trumped wars, you know, opposed to using the sword. You had to convince a whole bunch of people to fight for a fucking flag, and now they do it with paper. You know, it's a simple. Maybe I might sound arrogant by saying it's a simple observation. You just have to see a baby. Does the baby know how to read or write or speak? No. So then where do we get this ideal that what? I'm amazing? No, those are all programs. So then who gave us the writing style? And then you start realizing Chinese have a different kind of way of writing. You know what I mean? Again, that's all confirms we are being programmed constantly. And then we think, well, I'm going to see outside of the box. I said, no, you're just going to see a million different variations within the box. Because if you're outside of the box, you're not here. And even that, I'm technically not here. I'm just occupying a vessel. Now, for a lot of people, they might try to say, well, Dominic, prove it to me. I'm like, that's not my role to prove it to somebody else. Hence, ability to respond, one's own responsibility. Now our parents, our job is to what? Teach our kids. The best thing we could do is probably not fucking interfere with them. But we do. We manipulate kids because we've been manipulated.
You're an amazing individual, Dominic. The way you explain stuff, man, it resonates. And
that's all it is. And you
when
using the right term, resonate.
And the way you said, I've thought that too. Like, am I thinking out the box sometimes, or am I, like you said, just thinking, seeing different variations of inside the box? And
well, you've done a lot
I
of work
like to.
yourself. You've done a lot of work.
I look at things from every angle, but they're really just different variations.
Mm-hmm.
If we were truly thinking outside the box, we wouldn't even go along with this system.
Probably. What do we even need thinking?
It wouldn't exist.
Well,
Why wouldn't it let me let this guy in, man? There we go. What's up, Michigander?
Amazing rising. Another beautiful day.
Yeah, the moon was amazing this morning. I was out early. I seen Jupiter, Venus.
Well, this fella's right. I don't know what happened and what's going on, but the people that stay and live by that system are going to be consumed by it, and I'm watching it. I'm watching it now. I'm positive of that.
Uh-oh. What the hell is this?
But this stuff that this fella is saying, I could understand and see since I was a little kid. And like he said, they we abuse kids because we were taught that's all we know. We were brainwashed to it. And the form of abuse that I'm seeing and thinking of is like making them go to school to learn stuff to turn around and be a slave in the work system.
Yeah,
Because that's all
they're handing us a reality.
Yes, and the thing is, that's why I don't touch cash. And the thing is, I fell upon that currency issue by nature, but my focus was to make sure the corrupt system didn't make off my pecker beaters. And the thing is, I fell into it and woke up to it by doing it. You have to lead by example. I'm watching everybody rap and talk about it, and then like a couple days later, they're hitting a mood swing. It's because they're not living by it. They're thinking about it, and they're doing this and that and the other thing, but they're not living by it. And it'll eat you up because you're being like a false. What do they call it? False doctrination or something like that. You're preaching it but not living it. What do they call that?
Talking the talk and not walking the walk.
No, they got a specific word for it. And that's just it though. The words are important. The words hold power. That's why I'm trying not to curse so much, because I got a foul mouth, but I'm alone. The thing is, when people are around, I talk and stuff, but sometimes there's nobody around for months on end, so I don't talk.
Well, we can redirect our server to nature opposed to man-made structures. And when you're in that silence there, Michigan, sorry, my apologies. That's when a person can actually do the true revolution from within. Because the strongest energy does float. So I get it. When we're in these major cities, that energy will be the stronger energy. The one that actually wants to be the unicorn among us. The question would be more or less, why are you still here?
What do you mean unicorn among us? I don't follow.
People that are trying to abstain from being in a man-made system are going to be like a unicorn. Are going to be a rarity. So living off the grid, again, that's just a man-made term. You're going to live with nature, but yet as a person's driving a car or using satellites and all that other stuff, they're still in the system. To be with nature, go ahead.
No. I live my reality. I pretend like they don't exist.
Okay.
And to explain that everywhere I go, you know what? These people that I'm riding with are perfectly legal. I'm talking perfectly legal, beautiful cars. And guess what I get everywhere I go? Oh, your seatbelt. And I just look at them. I don't want to wear the seat. Can you leave
at that point, you're probably just being disobedient to a system.
No,
Okay,
no,
well, you just said no. You
because
didn't. Maybe if you investigate enough, you can see possibilities. The fact that you're saying no, that it seems that you're very rebellious, which is fine if that works for you. If that works for you, but how
it's
would that implement with the thousands or millions of beings that are here?
that's yeah, but that's not the case. Is the thing is sometimes I'm jumping in and out of my seat, checking loads on a trailer or doing this and that, and I'll forget about the seatbelt. And number one, it's got nothing to do with rebellion. I'm responsible for my safety. If I feel I need to put that seatbelt on, I'll put it on. Now, there's times when it's storming, I'll put the seatbelt on. When I get on the highways, I put the seatbelt on. With my motorcycle, the same thing. If I'm doing certain types of riding, I put a helmet on. If I'm doing certain types of riding, I don't wear a helmet. It's
Well,
my decision. It's
they are
my
your
decision.
decision, but you're not making those devices. So that's where, people forget. Unless you're creating everything or forming everything, those are your rules. A lot of those rules that you're talking about, I get it. There's insurance. A lot of people don't agree with those. But then again, how does people coexist? Anarchy without rulers is kind of moronic, but I get it. People want to play that game. And if that works for you, you got to remember, you're speaking openly in a recorded situation. So I treat it like as though there's kids here, and I would have to break it down for them. I'm saying he's probably not aware of certain things, but it serves him. All the power to him. But then a kid could turn around and say, but isn't he driving somebody else's device? Sure he is. Now, outside of that, if you go inwards and say, okay, but you're still participating in the system. Now, whether or not you want to call it man-made policies or call it nature's laws, two different things going on there. So if you don't want to wear a seatbelt, that's a personal preference. But last time I remember, if you're driving on a road that other people created, whether it's out of slavery, you could be harming another person, including yourself. But you can still play that game. It's still a game, never whether you're aware of it or not. I shouldn't be challenging you. You should be challenging yourself in that particular case.
You hear this?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry about that, Dominic. Go ahead.
I'm entertaining ideal Michigan. There is no right or wrong here. If anything else, the word wrong's been changed. It should be left directions. Pick a direction, flow with it. You don't need to justify it or feel as though you need to explain to other people why you choose to now wear a seatbelt. But my question would be for you, if I was meeting you in my garage, why are you driving a car then?
Because I want to.
Okay,
it's my right.
bingo.
I'm a free soul. I'm a free soul. Who has the right to tell me?
You are a free soul, but once
Especially
you're driving,
especially if I sat there and scrounged all these parts up from people all over the county, different counties, and then I build a car by hand myself, nobody has a right to tell me squat what to do with it unless I'm hurting someone.
Are you abstracting the fuel too?
What do you mean?
Are you making gas? Are you taking it from the ground yourself?
Alcohol, yes.
Okay. Good enough. So you're halfway in the program. You're not fully engaged in the program in a sense that you're being a sovereign being. The ideal of thinking a person has rights when it comes to some other device is moronic at best. You want to be on a plane, that's a privilege.
Here's the deal. You know what's funny?
Yes.
I try to step in and use the system, and it's nothing but harassment and problem, isn't it? I'm serious. It's nothing but harassment and problem, and it takes days away from my time in life because of dumb, stupid actions that people know better, and I can prove it.
You're right. I'm with you there, but that's where people, if they're no longer living within this particular type of grid, they're probably not going to hear that. But when we intermix with people, you're going to get the peanut gallery. You're going to get people say, well, like for example, me, I have drones. I get it. There's going to be rules. But then I also have to go further back and say, but I didn't create the device. I didn't make the GPS. I didn't make all that stuff. So I'm still in the system. So there's a time and place to have these small little battles. But to think to win the war, that's the best I'm going to give anybody that tells that story to me. But there is battles to be won if you feel as though they need to be won.
You confuse me, but yeah, I guess. I get it. It's a battle for freedom, but it's a different type of war. This one isn't, all about guns and stuff, man. It's about just saying no, standing up.
War of the mind, war of the emotions. Those are just manifested in the material. Most of the things that we experience aren't even in the material.
I guess maybe that's something I'm not tapping on yet. I'm not sure.
Well, again, the words you're using right now, where do you see them?
What do you mean?
Take it for granted. What do you mean? Think about it. Look at your hand. Where do you see the word hand? You don't actually see it on what we call the material / evil. You don't see it there. That's the objective realm. But you use things on a constant basis. We all do on a constant basis. And that's why we call it describe. You don't see emotions, you express them. So that's how the unknown works in the known. But most people are caught up being in the world. So you see the cards, you see all the alchemy of language. You're describing all those parts: steel, rubber, plastic, and then the sounds and frequency that goes within all that kind of stuff. Like I said, there's many places in this fucking box, like many. And for somebody to learn how to read or write, that's a fucking few degrees. Whether English has 5 degrees built in it, and think about all the other languages in the world. And I'm not just talking about spoken language, colors, numbers, Braille, fucking American Sign Language. If a person truly wants to be aware, the humbleness would realize, fuck, I'm 80 years old. I fucking know fuck all still. But
Yeah,
I've lived a
I know.
certain way.
I learn stuff every day and I enjoy it. But we're here to experience it. That's what another thing too. I think I don't know, man. I'm not perfect. I'm trying to figure it out too. You know.
Well, that's what awareness is all about. The experience. You can have the left-hand experience path, right, middle. You can even be the observer the whole time. You can observe more things than you can actually experience in one lifespan.
Like
Yeah.
learn something new every day. Like I just finished that book by Manly P. Hall. Doing every chapter and editing all 7 chapters to the video so people can read along. But anyway, the point is, he talks about the Egyptian pyramid, which I don't even think it's close to as old as they're saying. But the point I'm trying to make is, whoever decided to align the freaking head of a person and the brain and all that to the Egyptian pyramid, who thinks of stuff like that? Because it aligns. A lot of architecture synchronizes to the body. Peace, Yolanda.
Yep.
We could be in the movie like Dark City. There's a whole bunch of other beings that are doing all of this, and we just wake up the next day and like, oh, I'm a billionaire, I'm a trillionaire, I'm a homeless person. Could be.
Yeah.
Peace, mindful exposures. Look what Jay Heighton said. He said, I've noticed people don't help each other. I've offered 200 to stay for a month in my camper van and work in their land, and they rather say no. Greedy people in Florida. Shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, everywhere. It's crazy.
I would love to go to Florida. I've been to Florida once. I was freaking like 8 years old, barely remember everything. I remember how fast it rained and went away. I remember that. I was shocked. It like rained for like 2 minutes and it quickly went away. The sun was back. I was like, damn, need to move down here.
Well, I think you're capable of doing that, Charles. A lot of people, whether they're aware of it or not, we're caught up in our comforts. So to work the land, whether intuitively or not, they might not understand, or they do understand. I would have to remember how to work with the signs up in the skies. I would have to actually do constant manual labor, which is rewarding in itself. But a lot of us have our comforts. We end up taking specialties in certain crafts.
Oh,
and then go ahead.
You were saying looking up to learn the stars this morning. I actually looked up and seen the stars twinkling for the first time in who knows how long. They didn't spray. The sky was clear, full moon, and yeah, it was beautiful. Peace, OTW. I'm trying to learn these stars. I use my phone to map the stars because they have. I'm gonna show it in a minute, but
please.
How I learned how to map the sky with technology. I'll show you real quick. There's the moon. And there's Venus. Damn it. That was the wrong one. Where the hell is the one where I have freaking thing map? this the one? Is that the one? I don't know. We'll find out. There's this app. I like it. You point to the sky, man, and I don't know how they do it. Maybe by GPS, but it's pretty interesting. I thought that was the video. The moon was so bright. You know what's odd about the moon? I could remember you could look up and see the craters with your eyes for the most part. And now the moon seems to be brighter. I can't see craters with my eye anymore. Like, you gotta use a freaking telescope. Even with a phone, you can't zoom in and see the craters. It's just too bright. Unless I'm bugging. But I could have sworn I used to be able to see craters. Yeah, I didn't. Peace, Sterling, right? I didn't. Peace, look within. I didn't put my damn crystals out. I'm gonna do it tonight. Hopefully it's not sprayed to oblivion. It shouldn't be, because it's that time of year where all these evil witches go and do their evil deeds under the moon. So and you have your good witches that do good stuff, but for the most part, the wickedness is spreading like a cancer. Marcel, let me see. Okay, this is the video. Here we go. Here's Venus. And there's the moon. Now watch. There's the moon. And there's Venus. That's Jupiter that was near the moon. I didn't figure that out till later. Jupiter's right there. Oh, right there. Left to the moon. Well, you could actually see that Venus dancing around the vibration of it, which is odd. Because usually cell phones don't do that, but for some reason, I don't know if it's the combination of the screen recorder and the camera, but that was odd. Anyway.
Hello. Hi, Charles. Thanks for having me on.
That's Ra.
Or Mindful Exposures. If you haven't. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I forget that not everybody knows that connection. That's my nickname. My real name's Sarah. I don't care what you call me. I mean, if you want to call me the C word, go for it. I just might not stick around, so.
No.
I'm teasing. It's all good. How's it going? How's your morning? Other than trying to get cool stuff. Yeah.
Started off great. Clear morning. Got to see the moon. Bunch of stars for once without them putting toxins everywhere. And I actually looked up and seen the stars twinkling, which is almost impossible in the city, but for some reason this morning it was possible.
Yeah. What city are you in again? I'm sorry if you don't want to tell.
Hartford?
Hartford, Connecticut?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So is it like really generally hazy? Like even if you guys have clear days, is it almost always hazy?
Some mornings it's near the Connecticut River, so some mornings are foggy, but yeah, it's mostly some sort of spray going on. Even if there's no lines, it's coming from the west or east. It's like they spray ahead and the wind just carries it over. So yeah, it seems every day.
I've noticed the uptick, but I mean, and here what really like drives me nuts is the way the air quality already is in the fall. And then they'll have these agriculture burns, and they'll do it right in the middle of fire season here too, which like because you'll see these huge plume of smokes come up in the sky, and you're like, okay, I guess we got to evacuate. And they're like, no, just agricultural. But regardless, there's a lot of haze in the sky, and we definitely get spraying here. But have you tried bowls of vinegar, or have you tried to just even do like an intentional like I try to envision like I'm wiping them away. Have you tried to do that?
I've heard of using what's that called? The damn it. This guy did a combination of like copper, silver, gold, crystals. I forgot what it's called when you put all that together and you use this. Damn it, man! I can't think of the name. I don't know why I keep thinking obsidian. That's not. It'll come to me.
Obsidian's the one that usually like collects negative energy.
Yeah, I got those around my window and doorway.
Nice. I need to go collect more because I don't have as much anymore. I used to have a lot. But yeah, you're supposed to put it like entryways.
I'll show some of my new crystals. I had my mother, when she had passed away, left me all her crystals.
Oh, cool.
They got stolen. Fortunately, years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
Crap. I know who stole them.
Heard that. Sorry, listening to your podcast before you lost your mom when you were younger, right?
Yeah. I was 20 years old.
Oh, that's young.
She was my age now, 40. She was 42, which is super young.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear about your mom. I know you talk really well of her, though.
Thank you. For the kind words.
Does it make it any easier, even though it's been so much time?
Yeah. That's why I try to. Some people tell me that, oh, it's been so long. That makes it harder for me, at least, and they say think of the good times, and I'm like, yeah, that's what makes it harder.
Yeah,
you start thinking of the good memories. It starts to bring out.
Yep.
Yeah, it gets me angry.
And it's like no matter if you believe you're gonna see her again, or if you believe her energy's around you, you still want to see her. It's like my grandma me and her were super close, and I was with her, when she passed, and she was with me after for quite a while. Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, fluorite looks like some kind of is that topaz or smoky quartz?
Smoky quartz.
Yeah. I got my little chunk of smoky quartz right next to me too.
Then I
didn't realize
obsidian right here.
You guys know more about the heal. Is that shungite? No.
It's
what
obsidian.
Is that?
I think it's not obsidian.
Yeah, it could be obsidian. It looks like shungite because of the structure of it. That would be even better, to be honest. It's not that obsidian's not great, but shungite's like really good for EMF protection.
Reminds me of coal.
It's more flat. I think it's more flat black shungite. So.
Because this is coal.
It's more flat. Mine is my raw has a lot of structure to it, but it does. What was that?
That was a piece of coal. You know, if I shined it up, it'll
Did you
look
get that
kind
from
of like that.
Did you get that from your barbecue?
No, I got it from the train tracks near the factories. It was on the train tracks.
He's gonna try to make
And I
diamonds.
have this type of crystal from the quarry where Tommaso blows up. This is just some crystal from the rocks.
That looks like citrine or some sort of mix of citrine. I don't know as much about the healing properties as sometimes I can identify. I'm not amazing at it, but
Yeah.
Charles, you're gonna be a hand model
nice.
pretty soon. You're gonna be a hand
Have
model.
you guys
pretty
seen
soon.
fluorite? Sorry, Dom, I can
Go
hear
ahead.
it. I couldn't quite hear you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this right here, smoky quartz, the person had sent it, and when I put it, I was holding it, I could literally feel the energy going through my hand. And I thought I was like bugging. But yeah, the person asked me, what do you feel when you hold it? And that's, you know, I didn't say nothing to him. Like, hey, I feel the energy. But when they asked me, I knew I wasn't tripping. This thing's got a lot of power to it. I want to see what happens when I put under the moon and charge it.
Yeah. Pretty much anything that has that quartz crystal aspect, which a lot of these rocks do, like that's what forms. It's that, but then there's obviously other minerals intermixed. Like has generally some kind of healing properties. And the one time I did use it was when I was learning Reiki, and my cat was having major lung and heart issues, and I do feel like the combination of my Reiki work, and then I created like they told you to like take a picture of the animal, and then it put lots of quartz crystals around it, and then I had a lot of carnelian agate, which is supposedly like really good for the heart and lung functionality too. So I did that, and then we did Reiki all the time, and she lived for 2 years from the point where she was like having like a nervous breakdown one night, like not a nervous breakdown, but you know, she was like panting uncontrollably and I couldn't get it under control. But since I started doing that, she lived for 2 more years after until she was 18.
This right here, the person that sent me this, all I told them is that this was my favorite. My mother had one of these, and I remember my uncle had bought it in Arizona. He used to work for a moving company here in the city, and I remember in the 90s when my mother had it. It was my favorite one out of the collection, and all I told them was it was a purple crystal with, it looked like a rock from the back. This is the first thing I opened in the package, and I don't know how she knew, but she spot on. It almost looks like the exact piece. But yeah, my mother had everything, man. Even if they were little ones like this on paper, she had diamond, you name it, man. Everything, healing.
That's that's awesome. And there's, you know, you want to know what's funny is there's like groups. There's like, okay, if you've heard of those box clubs where you sign up for like a monthly subscription, and they send you a bunch of stuff. There's like several for crystals now, which is kind of cool because when I looked at the price, there's a couple where I was like, that might be worth it. But I know that a lot of these guys get these crystals at wholesale. So if you have not, if anybody here too is not into rocks, if you haven't been to a rock show, I highly recommend you go. You can often find really good deals because people are trying to get rid of their like hands-on merchandise, you know, as opposed to online.
And my mom, you know, they would call people like that a witch. But people forget, man, that these religions teach people that witches are evil, but little do they know, all their preachers are witches because they use incense and all that, and they're speaking in tongues in these churches. A lot of people don't even know that, especially Catholic churches or warlock, but there's good witches.
Yes.
They have tarnished that whole name.
Exactly. To this day, they're still practicing witch doctors in a lot of these other countries. And I thankfully got to experience watching one of them heal somebody who had been sick for 3 days where no other medications were working. And she did a lymph massage. We walked into this house, you know, like we're up on the hills of San Juan in Costa Rica, outside of San Juan. And there's no running water, you know, there's no plumbing up in these hills and stuff. And we walk into this house, and it looked a bit shabby. There's just, you know, a little bit messy. Anyway, and so she does this lymph massage, and this woman that we were with, about 15 to 20 minutes into the massage, goes, I gotta throw up. And, you know, she could have probably just thrown up outside, but we ran into this house, and there's, you know, like, and this is just, I'm 16 at the time, so this was a culture shock for me at the moment. But, you know, there's a hole in the wall for the toilet, or hole in the wall, hole in the floor. That would be gross. Okay, anyway, and so she throws up, and she's 100% better. Like, just like, I mean, full on, completely better. And if you understand like what a lymph massage is, and see, they call this like voodoo, but like we don't do any of this. I shouldn't say do any, but we don't do a lot of this kind of healing work with each other. We don't touch each other as much. Like a lot of women used oil in their hairs and played with each other's hair. And so there was a whole energetic value to that. But it's the same thing with just like learning to like help each other with our emotions is often usually connected to the disease, which is what's really interesting. And that's why I brought that up. Yeah, good witches do exist.
My mother had a friend that was a Jehovah's Witness, and you know, now that I look back, it just shows how blind people are. They demonize a lot of stuff for reasons, so people don't look into the good stuff. And Jehovah's Witnesses demonize everything, man. I get the holiday part, but I really don't care about holidays. It's all about money. That's nice. Hold on, let me put on full screen. Yeah, I'm trying to get the collection back of crystals and stones, and people say you could find them outside, but not in Connecticut.
Oh, yeah, here you can. Like, it's amazing. I have books on Washington, Oregon, and California, because there's so many spots. There's places you can find jade in California. But I say that, by the way, and the only known spot is in a kind of a sketchy area. So I would highly recommend, if anybody's going to go look for it, you definitely bring more than one person with you. And don't be surprised if you run into people trying to protect their property. That's all I got to say. But it's actually on the roadside. You can find it. Because I tried to go find the old mine. Hold on, I got another one. I'll show you. This is my... See, we have a lot of different types of agate. If I remember, I think this is supposed to be a polka dot agate, which is hard to tell because the only evidence that it's part of the polka dot
agate
family is right here.
You said agate or agate?
Yeah, agate, which is like, that's like, generally it's a quartz crystal that's usually mixed.
Yeah, the light is draining it out. It's so bright.
Oh, wait, let me try something.
There's a line in the picture too, like a blue.
Yeah,
a blue line.
my that's cracked. A little better, right?
Yeah.
It's because you know how I have it set up for when I do come on camera. I have a light right behind the computer.
That's nice.
This is like the other cool thing is, I could show more, but I'll have to go pull it out. But the other cool thing is that there's estate sales in Oregon. And you can go find people who have had collections for years and years. And like just some amazing, and they've already polished them like that. It's like already been, they call them slabs often. And my dad actually has taken up photographing them, which I personally love because I'm like, well, I already love rocks. So I'm like, yeah, I want that up on my wall. My favorite that he has photographed is a moss agate. Do you know what that is?
No, I've heard of it.
I don't have a really big piece easily available. It's like packed away, but let me I'll pull up a little picture of it so you can see it because they're so cool. And this does actually then back up the concept because I have sometimes a hard time with this, but the concept that we were like bodies could have been petrified in time, like organs could have been wholly petrified in a moment from like an event, from some sort of, you know, sky event or mud flood. Yeah, right.
Peace to Sophia, Sun Mao, Benton. Hope I said that right, Sun Mao. But Jay Heighton said, look at the moon when the sky is blue. And what is believed to be a crater is blue. Wait until it's night and you can see those same spot being gray or black. Moon isn't a solid rock. Yeah, I agree with that. And I've had debates with people, and they seem to say, what's his name? It comes here, you know. And I respect people's perspective. You know, people see things different, and I'm not here to make anyone believe anything. You know, people do their own research, but I see
think it's good, that we
moon.
keep bringing this stuff up though, because like, how else are we gonna, like, somebody was, I think it was Z last night was on. Oh, Dom can remind me because he told me to go over there on Steve's channel, and he was actually doing a really good job of getting down to the fact that, like, if we're not looking at some of these unusual things, and regardless of what you believe, what it is or what it isn't, that it's like you got to challenge what you're seeing a little bit. And this,
yeah, I've seen planets.
We're told to.
And the word planet is just a plane with a net over it. The net of stars, a plane with a net. But the wandering stars, some call them, yeah. I think personally, I always say this. I don't like the fact that the system hands you a reality. You know, in school they have history, right? They're trying to tell people who they are with this history crap, and the only people that should tell you who you are is your family. That's true history. And as far as them naming the stars and the planets already, why we can't name them ourselves? This is our experience, you know. I don't want people handing me my reality. I want to enjoy my experience. So yeah, the system controls a lot of things. You know, they want to, you know, people call it they name it after all their deities or gods or whatever. Start naming them my own names.
George, Larry, Harold.
No,
Margaret.
not that. I don't know. We got to make our own language, Dominic. You know? We should start making our own language.
I bastardize the language I speak right now, Charles. I bastardize the language I use right now, so I don't know if another language would help me.
At least you can laugh about it. I did pull something up, Charles, but I'm going to go grab my coffee really quick. I'll be right back.
We start speaking like tones and shit. Fucking.
Oh, you know it.
The old tribes.
True.
The more I look into the Germanic tribes or whatever label they want to put on it, before religion conquered all the people and forced them to believe in their gods and deities, you know, people used to, I don't know if I want to say worship, but they respected Mother Earth, and they knew how Mother Earth worked, and they knew Mother Earth was a guarantee that if you took care of Mother Earth would take care of you. And today it's all about material stuff. And the older I get and the wiser I become, it's like, you know, I want to see the youth not live such a controlled life that I grew up living, and get the correct wisdom when you're younger so they could elevate much, I don't want to say faster, but they could elevate. Imagine, you know, we knew this stuff at a younger age. We had parents that taught this and handed it down at a younger age. I would have flourished so much stronger if I knew this stuff at a younger age, even though it's never too late. It sucks that I have to figure out half my life's gone, but you know.
You could have, or you could have been in the opposite, Charles, where your parents teach you morale and all that, but then they put you in the crazy house with the rest of us. That might have been a struggle in itself. We might not have been appreciated things like playing sports, collecting certain things. Sometimes part of the process is where we become wise. But yeah, for some people, I think the Jewish community, they still, I know in Canada anyway, they teach their kids about the concept of money and how it works, what it can and cannot do. And they might have an upper advantage over the masses, but you still need the masses to participate for it to be an advantage. Or we could be doing it for our future selves. Maybe we do come back over and over again. So what we don't do now about to understand the credit system or try to maybe, I can't even say try to stop it, because then we would have to try to understand what were we when it came to fiat currency.
Yeah, that's why we cry when we're born. The baby realizes they're back in the shithole again. Well, it doesn't have to be a shithole. I'm talking about they're back to the system again.
Could be, maybe.
No, and I just want to say, I tell people I want to leave the system, and then people say, oh, I don't want to run away. And then when I bring solutions to fight back against the system, they don't want to do that either. They say, well, why don't we do our own thing? It's like, you can't win with people. I've tried, and it's like they dance around everything. But if I said, let's stand up and stand our ground, they say, oh, let's focus on gardens and stuff. And if you just focus on that, then it's like, when I say I want to leave the system, I'm not running from nothing. I just don't want to be a part of it. I want a little piece of land.
That's where I'm at. I'm kind of sick of us all just repeating the same narrative. And I mean, and of course I say I'm sick when, like, I shouldn't say those words. And I should be more positive about the whole thing, because we all have had to have our own journey. And I think there's a reason why some of us are feeling it a little bit more right now than ever. But I just can't keep playing the same game. Like, and it has to do with YouTube too. And this is, again, no offense to anybody, but it's like, we're all just playing the same game to get money to come in, to keep buying the same thing, just keep doing the same thing over and over again, and just keep repeating the cycle.
Well, our system, we can leave the system, is there's many parts of the system, so we don't literally have to like remove ourselves from these vessels. It's still challenging. For me, it is anyway. It's challenging.
I agree. I agree that I don't necessarily feel like the ascension terminology is what is going to happen. I think that potentially, if there is any truth to this, that is actually what just helps perpetuate you back into the cycle. It's the whole going into the light concept. So I would just say, and I personally am going to, when I die, whoever's waiting there for me, because usually it's like somebody I'm going to just have a lot of questions. And we'll see what happens. But
and I had 2 different experiences each time.
Like near death?
Yeah.
Wow.
First time.
Sure.
My life. I don't know what. I still try to figure out what it was all about, but I was in a car accident, and I wish my friends still had the pictures of this car, because I would look at it and be like, how did I live? People say, oh, you were drunk. I had no seatbelt on. I hit a tree doing like 60 and rolled it over. But I seen my life. It was like important people in my life were flashing like a fucking flash card. Then it felt like seconds, but it was really minutes. Or vice versa. Either way, it was just like I seen my mother and my gramps, all these important things in my life. Almost like, this is what you want to lose. Fucking around, drinking and driving. We were racing. I was young, I was 18. Then the second time, I felt the most love I've ever felt. And then, when my eyes opened up, all that was gone. It was nothing but the negative energy, man, of being back here. And so I always question when we die, is there something after this? And I still question.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that just by what you're saying, and I feel like I personally have not. I've been in an operating room, and there's a few things that people will talk about that I experienced myself, but I'm kind of curious, like, did you say, so you were saying the second time you when you were in the passage I don't know what you want to call that, or going towards the light, if you want to say, but you said you were feeling like an overwhelming amount of love, and then you came out of it and you felt like you were back in the darkness. Is that what you said? Your mic got a little soft. That's the only reason I couldn't quite hear.
Yeah, it felt like something was telling me there's nothing to worry about, you know. And it felt like I didn't have no anger, no depression, no anxiety, no worries. Everything of that nature was gone. And then it was like being sucked through a tunnel, and I came back, opened my eyes. You know, that's when I say when I came back, I opened my eyes. It was an instant of worry, and that type of feeling came back, and I was pissed. The first thing I was like, I'm back here again, you know, 'cause wherever I was, I didn't want to come back here. That's for sure.
I get that. I mean, that's kind of my joke with like, if there's any truth that we agreed to come here, like, why? Why? What? Wait a second. I agreed to this.
This place can be beautiful, man. And
oh, for sure.
We're programmed to do all this. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and the selfish mind state. The school system is indoctrination camps for sure. And everything in school it made me dumb. I didn't learn anything good in school. It was boring. It was stupid.
So this
Once I learned how to skip school, I never went back.
The CIA, I think it was the CIA or the FBI launched this program about trying to figure out what makes a genius. And this was quite a few years ago. So it could have been closer. Say that again, sorry?
Rebellion against the school system makes you a genius.
Well, that was the funny part about this, was that they tested children under the age of 5 to begin with, and then they followed them throughout their life. And at the age of 5, it was like, I think it was the majority of them, and it could have been like 80%, but I almost want to say 98% of them were ruled as geniuses. Then they came back 5 years later, and it had cut in almost half. And then they came back 10 years later, and it had completely almost disappeared. It was like down to like 20%. And then as adults, it went down to like 2%, and they went out into the field to test other adults, and they could only find like a rough 2% average. And they literally said, this is the government saying this, that school was the problem.
Thank God I dropped out, man.
Yeah. Oh, really? I mean,
someone told me when you're 16, you don't. I started skipping school at 13, and I hated school. I was like, there's no point. What does any of this shit matter? I used to tell the teacher, fuck, I'll purposely get kicked out because I just didn't want to be there. I would spaz out, and they'd be like, go to the office, see the principal, and they would send me home, and that was what I wanted. Once I figured out the way out, and then I started skipping, and this school reading, they said I had a 12th grade reading level in 6th grade and all this stuff, but it was just boring. I didn't see any need for any of that. History was...
You're not alone.
Bullshit.
And like, understanding like different learning disabilities is actually just an acknowledgement that people need to learn differently. And my best way to learn on is hands-on. And I am very lucky that when I became an EEG tech, that I was grandfathered in. I was given hands-on training. I couldn't touch a patient for quite a few months until they felt confident, but I had to we're putting electrodes on the brain, on the skull. I had to use like a mannequin and like fake hook up the electrodes to the, specific parts of the brain for months before I could do it on a patient. And what I'm getting at is that I didn't have college training, and so this is like coming down to that apprenticeship thing, and I really feel like that needs to come back. And again, because like a lot of people will even tell you, and I have a feeling you're the same way, Charles, that you're more of a hands-on person. Like, let me get the work done. Yep. I don't want to sit idly thumbing through a book, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, I'm getting myself back up and into the reading better because I was not necessarily taking the time to really read like I used to. And I think that but regardless, like, we're all so different, and it's very important to acknowledge that. And that has a lot to do with that indoctrination. I just think it's interesting that, the government released this. It's not like this is being hidden. You can look this study up, and they're straight up saying school's the problem. But this is the same thing with colleges. Who pays for the colleges? What companies are putting the money in to control what's being taught, right? So it's like most people
Rockefeller.
and like a whole other slew of others, right? And so Monsanto is directly connected to Hopkins, which is like one of the #1 medical schools in the country. And yeah, so I forgot what I was saying, but yeah, I think you get my point.
I just want to say peace to Orphan Annie, Lucid, Sophia, Cadence, Smoking and G Sharp. Who else came in? That's
hey guys, hey Orphan Annie and Marcel. You guys don't usually get to have me say hi to you unless you came into my channel. And I always say this: Smoking and G Shop. I always say it funny.
Like,
I love that.
I know,
Yolanda.
I know, like, research is just regurgitating other people's perspectives, but in order to, I don't know, I like researching and learning other perspectives. Like I always say, I might miss something. I like to do it on my own. I don't like when people stand there in the school and they tell me this is right, this is what you say is wrong, and like I said, history. I used to I took African American history in school. It was only in high school.
That's interesting. We never had that.
Yeah,
which is what's is starting to become interesting about, and I'm not discrediting in any means. Not trying to stir this debate or anything, but it's interesting the information coming out now on the potential slave trade and actually how it expanded into all kinds of different
Callaway blew that away. And I used to have a problem with school history because I used to talk to my grandfather. And my grandfather said his parents, my great-grandparents, came here in 1890. And, they said that the Africans came over on boats and all this stuff. But in reality, it was mostly Europeans that were coming over. And
have you, I was going to say, have you looked at the slave boats? Have you looked at the people who, so there's some good, I feel like Shem might have done this, but there's some people that are debunking like the fact that it feels very unlikely that they would have been able to ship as many slaves over as they said they would to sell them for a good price, because otherwise they would have been in horrid shape, like the amount of water needed. Now there is early depictions of desalinization devices on some of these ships, so I have a feeling that's how they did the water. But like the food alone, and of course they're going to starve them, but again, they're trying to sell them for a good price, and they're supposed to go work on these farms, so they want them to be healthy. So anyway, that's really interesting. Our whole narrative, and like this is something me and my friend Shem got into a deep dive on, is that we think that there was a way heavier infiltration in the Americas way before we were told, and this is kind of now decently documented with Utah, and that's
people have always been everywhere.
Go ahead.
Like the only history I think that should matter is what is handed down. All this school stuff is to indoctrinate you and tell you, like me, the simplest the system gives you a reality, and it takes away from your experience. They want you to just be a slave your whole life and to be dumb and just do what you're freaking told. So I always felt there was more to life. I watched my grand die miserable, worked his entire life. And there's nothing wrong with working to support your family. That's what a man's supposed to do. But I could see if you got your piece of land and you're building your home and you have a farm and you're growing food to feed your family. Okay, I get that. But working at a job, you're working for the man at the top that owns the place. He's getting rich, traveling, and having a good life off of your sweat. Your broken back, and all that American dream shit that you can do.
Well, and then that's the whole like indoctrination of the way we were taught to farm, like this whole quantity over quality, and like we totally gave up the companion planting. We came in and the natives showed us the Three Sisters method, and we shat on it.
to give up farming now, that's what the people at the top wanted, man. It's not passed down gardening anymore. People didn't see the value in it. Now, if the government has control of the food, they control the people even more, because you can't fight back with no food. You're going to starve and surrender or die. It's either one. Me, I would die rather than surrender and go to some fucking...
Well, and that's what I'm getting at. Like, so if you remember, there was a big push, and it was, you know, around the 1950s, and it was these people wanting to get off the farms. And they're like, we don't want to work on the farms. It's too hard of work. Well, why is it too hard of work? Because they're literally fighting against the elements instead of learning to work with them. And now people are going back and they're regenerating their soils, and they're showing that they don't need the pesticides to control it. It's amazing.
Yeah, but that's another ball game, is the way the soil's been tainted with all that. And I tell people, they say, make sure you wash your fruit off, and I'm like, well, what does that matter? If it gets into the soil, the plant's sucking it up. You can't wash the inside of the freaking fruit. You know, if they're putting stuff on the plant, it's going to get into the soil and get sucked into the plant. So you're going to eat it too. It don't matter if you wash it.
I wonder if chickens and cows would understand slavery.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think they do. When you bunch them together and they're all crammed in the thing, they realize that that person is mistreating them. Who wouldn't? Look at the cows. When you see the cows in line, I seen a cow jump out of the freaking line because he seen the one in front of him get his head knocked off. I mean, they know what's going on. They're not stupid, and I feel bad for them.
So if we're beings resonating inside of a human form, could there also be beings resonating in other animals?
I think so. Peace, love you too, love for you. Jack streaming. What do you think? You think so? I do.
I value the concept, you know, like I get it when we always talk from a human point of view, but we just have to see the other species and say, okay, so have we all been in servitude or slavery? You know, like I think even a person that wants to become or being conditioned to be a master has to be in servitude. It's just this constant either or dynamics that we play. Either you're a slave or you're a master. Well, they're both misfortunate. This one person might have a little bit more comforts to settle with. So whether or not your skin is dark skin or light skin, same game. Whether you're a male or female, still the same game. Now, where we lose each other is when somebody says, but you don't understand because I'm a woman. I said, even among women, people don't understand each other, let alone men. But I get it. Everybody still wants to have this herd mentality. If I get a whole bunch of people to value some concept, whether it's religion, science, like right now it's science. That's the game that they're playing with us. They've already overran state and religion. So now we're playing with science. But the underlying is commerce still. So most of us aren't really participating fully in the commerce ideal. We are still indirectly by purchasing products and then complaining about it. You know,
I think a lot of that's distraction. Dominic.
It could
like,
be.
I'm starting to think religion and all that's a distraction. So we're not, all these rich people plan for the future while we argue and are stuck in the past. Not we as here, I'm just saying in general, a lot of people are stuck in the past arguing about shit that happened. Who came first? The animals don't argue over who came first. We're stuck in the past. We don't even plan for the future for the most part. We're always arguing with each other and fighting and all this shit. Division.
Well, the dirty bits. That's what most people are actually stuck in the past. But there is a lot of traditions and customs that, as long as it's been questioned, because a lot of times if you don't question it, it will die off, or people will follow it aimlessly. Like, why would a person want to be a farmer or a hunter? Would be a question one could ask oneself if they were trying to pursue that. You know, like opposed to just saying it's better than living in civilization. Well, we still need to question what benefits does civilization have for us. For a lot of people, we've been conditioned. We're the frog in the water. So it's like telling somebody, why don't you leave the ghetto? I said, from what perspective are you looking at? Unless you've been integrated in or yourself in it, how would you want to leave it? It takes a lot of effort for a person to leave an old system. I don't care if it's a poverty system or a filthy rich system. Hence why Hindus with that class system is so engraved in them. Same with the Asians with that bowing thing. There's so much going on there that we in the Western part of the world, we want to believe that we're modernists. No, we're just avoiding a lot of old traditions. such as what are the signs in the sky? What purpose does it serve? When people use the word witch, for example, it just meant alchemy. They were the first ones to basically have alchemy flow through their vessels. So they understood how to work with things. So now beings come to be. The human aspect of us would still be at that primeval stage where we wouldn't be worrying about bridges and manipulating things, even though we might have been manipulated the whole time, as we still are probably.
That's a good point. And I tell my friends, not friends, but I like to speak to my religious friends, and I say, you ever read about the alchemist and alchemy? And they say, that's evil. And I say, really? I say, because your alchemy, it's in all our bodies. A lot of these religions.
But what happened if they're using the right word and they're just not aware of it? What happened if they're saying, like, let me change the word evil? What you're doing is material. A lot of times we speak our truths, but we just don't know how to convey with each other. We just quickly thinking, well, evil. Oh, it must be.
Yeah. Like they say things are evil because they don't understand it or understand it.
They might, but the person that receives it might have already a layer of likes or dislikes. This is where you have to be the observer and say, resist thinking that this is positive or negative or likes or dislikes. Then you can actually have discernment. Judgment will give you, well, I have to categorize evil as bad. Why? Then you'd have to realize the program that you're in. That takes a lot of effort, Charles, for somebody to actually be a blank slate again. And then you can actually
wondering, like, it's like that whole concept of discovering empathy, but again, with what you're getting at, I would call it healthy empathy because of that need to make sure there's a boundary so that you're not going too far on either side, toxic positivity, toxic negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine when you die, you are judged by a they wouldn't like judging me. I'll call it that God a fucking hypocrite.
Why is that, Charles? Why would they have whoever they are have a?
Because they're a hypocrite. The God in that Bible is a hypocrite. You got to follow these laws that the fucking God don't even follow.
Again, those could be stories. Those could be stories.
Yeah.
When we're trying to follow stories where you can still use your own, whether your senses and your reasons, and say, okay, so is that God a God of humans or a God of nature? Because nature shows. Well, if you look at nature, we have hurricanes, right? So it serves a purpose. Now it's our responsibility to get out of its way. And if we don't, then you're just a drive-by. Nature does that on a regular basis. If all of a sudden,
what about earthquakes?
Same ideal. It's the same ideal. We choose to be in harm's way. It's like somebody picking a side in the war. I said, the fact that you're picking up a gun, you're putting yourself in harm's way. Now, the rest of it is our justification and excuses that we use to justify. Well, I'm fighting for a flag. I said, yeah, that didn't work well when your friend got fucking shot in the head. I'm pretty sure their loved ones aren't going to say, oh, those enemies were bad. No, you put yourself in harm's way. Nature provides everything for us, everything, positive or negative. And I like to think most of the negative chaos is in the unknown, and it manifests itself in the material. But most people will try to explain the material with the unknown.
That's why Satan is the god of material. He's the lower light. All lower vibrating light materializes. That's all that symbolizes.
Mm-hmm. And this is probably why
they put the spooky stuff in it to scare people.
Well, maybe that's probably why when you experienced the light and then you came back, you realized you went into a lower energy again. Maybe you didn't have the ability to pass the light. Because there's beings that come back here to assist other beings. It's not always about nirvana. The person that wants to just make it about their own soul's journey is coming back again and again and again. But for their purpose, it's the perpetual Buddha trying to break the karma of the rebirth process, opposed to, are you going to come back to try to help your fellow beings?
Well, we should, or not we, but my opinion, people give up before they even try. If I say we need to come together and we could fix Mother Earth, we could change this. A lot of people I've spoken to say it's too late, or God needs to come and obliterate everything. This is the mindset a lot of people are in. Even the innocent children and women. So what? I get in arguments and debates with my roommate a lot.
But do you think Gaia
to
needs to be
oblivion.
fixed? Sorry, Charles. Do you think Gaia needs to be fixed? Because Gaia, Earth, it'll do quite well with or without us.
Well, yeah, but for us to survive, we need to stop polluting the shit out of it. That's the point I'm trying to say.
Okay. Because we are participating.
Start having more respect. Instead of cutting all the trees down, plant some damn. For every one you cut, you should plant 2. Have a concept at least. Just don't plow them all down and sell them for money. There's no respect. Like I said, there's a story of fishing, and I was fishing with a native Indian. He showed me respect of Mother Earth at a young age. He had kissed the fish and thanked the fish, and some of my friends thought he was nuts, but I knew right away what was going on. So it's all about respect.
And the power of intent, because if you speak nicely to your food, it might provide a better sustenance. And what do they do when they take out like a deer? They use every single part of it, but there's a whole ceremony. And actually, most hunters I've talked to, because I personally have not hunted, and I do know a lot of bow and arrow hunting because they're trying to do it out of skill. But they talk about there's a whole moment where they stop and they thank the deer and they actually pet it. And I think I've heard some kiss it, and then they proceed with getting the meat. But it is, I'm very, very much in tune with that Native American, like one with the earth. And like Bex, if you're listening, what up? She was having eczema issues, and she stuck her hand and just let it sit in organic dirt. Like, just think about that. We need that energy. We need grounding. It's the whole grounding thing. And I personally
agree.
Whatever, and I don't know if we had something to do with it, but at some point we started to become heavily disconnected from that. And that's becoming a little more apparent. The material of the buildings we live in, the shoes we wear, the clothes we wear, the products we put on us. If you look at a UV light of somebody putting sunscreen on and the actual coating that it does. And then same thing I've heard with like contacts. Like, you're supposed to have that full on and glasses eye exposure to the sun, because that's the best way to take in the nutrients. And we're told, don't look at the sun. And I'm not saying please don't go out and look at the sun right now, because I'm sure there is a way to like overdo it. And I definitely
look at it directly.
Sun, but maybe we're all supposed to be blind. I don't know. Just kidding.
I've looked at the sun directly plenty of times, and I'm not blind.
Me either.
But I don't stare at it for like hours directly. I'll look at it a little bit, glance away, look at it, and then someone told me don't look directly. We're not.
Isn't there certain
people say a lot of things? They put the spookism in everything, man.
Well, they put the lack of awareness. Isn't there certain type of time of the day you're supposed to be doing sun gazing, and depending on what hemisphere?
Yep.
Okay.
Not at noontime, you don't.
Yeah.
Sunrise and sunset, and yogis. This is like a long reported story of them doing this, and also doing this as sort of like that breatharian thing, which gets into a whole fascinating topic.
Again, those are all, you break it down scientifically. Like, the reason why I think grounding is becoming a little bit more useful now is because we are coming closer to the age of Aquarius. There's going to be a lot of air beings, and for some people that aren't air beings, they're going to have to stay more grounded. This is why we forget. If tribal days, they would have turned around and said, we're having a difficult time communicating with the species of animals and all that, because you brought in all this Wi-Fi. See, we harm this earth in a lot of ways, but we harm ourselves more when we introduce new technology or old technology, because it comes in a form of the masses. When small tribals do certain things, they're not going to do devastating to the earth, let alone to other tribes. But because we have all this triangulation going on with all these different energies, we're putting our bodies in disease mode so much quicker, and cancer cells are being activated because of it.
Yep.
So what goes in your mouth and actually offends it.
Like, again, I brought this up before, but this would directly connect with like what happened to the tribes when these mass amount of people came in and just started taking out all their resources, clearing the forest, taking out the food sources, right? And what did that do energetically to those people? So they say they caught a disease, or did they catch an energy flow?
Well, you do Reiki, for example, even myself, Reiki, what is it? Reiki confirms or denounces that we're air beings. We're doing a lot of distance healing. But the thing is, how much healing can we do when the person at the other end is harming himself that much more? So eventually
I'm still working on myself, because Dom and I have talked about this a bit. I'm still in my healing stages, and I'm not ready. I don't know if I'll ever ready to say like I'm an ultimate healer of any kind. I'm not necessarily trying to do that, but I know that the signs just keep pointing that's my path. When I got into my healthcare field, that solidified it for me. It just had to do with all the connections I made with my patients, But shoot, what were we just saying? That's my god.
About air beings and about healing, hence words like laying of hands.
Oh, what? Okay, so sorry. Thank you. What I was going to say is what I am trying to do for the majority of the time when I practice Reiki is focus on balance. And actually, like, for an example, when I take my dog on a walk, my dog personally is a rescue. She came with a lot of anxiety issues. She is actually she's my energy radar. If my energy gets out of sync, she does this weird thing where she wants to go hide under my bed, and I won't even feel like it, I'm out of sorts or anything. So she's like my radar. But what I'm getting at is I focus on balance, and we walk past these other dogs that are very reactive, and so then she's reactive back at them. And I do this with other scenarios, and I envision in between them like a toroidal type hole that the energy can flow down into and sort of then recycle as it needs to, whether that comes back out of the other side or whatever. But I'm asking for balance, and I do the same when I just ask. It sounds so stupid, but I do ask for like quote unquote world peace. But I say when I ask for this, I'm asking for whatever balance is needed to achieve that. And what I'm asking, yes, I want to live in utopia. I want the golden age, da 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 da. But I'm asking for it to happen in the most appropriate way, without causing too much chaos. Because when I ask for somebody to have utopia, what does that mean on the other end? Those people have to live in hell, right? Sometimes. Just saying that's something I do think about. Dom, I'd like to hear more of your opinion on that, because we haven't gotten fully into that discussion, and that was something we said we were going to do. I want to do more deep diving into this, but just the whole Reiki thing, like, how do you practice it? I believe you told me your wife does practice it, and like I know she uses crystals. I'm just kind of curious, like, what other techniques? Because I have only met so many people, but I have sort of put my techniques together based on what they've told me,
Well, I became a Reiki only because of my wife initiating me, I guess. And I don't practice it myself per se, so I just become aware of it. So other things such as, what is it called? Body consciousness. The other one, people used to do primal screaming. I think you talked about it. Crystals, singing bowls, as you guys were talking about crystals earlier, or essential oils. All those are, different elements. And, depending on the person that you are, it might aid you, it might even harm you, or could even be a placebo for most people. But then you could also include the pharmaceutical industry or the medical industry. It does help construct certain things, but again, a lot of that, it's an individual basis. So I don't think Reiki works on everybody per se. No different than cursing somebody works on everybody. Go ahead.
Like Qigong is like a form of Reiki in a way, right?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people practice that stuff. Literally, they practice it. So kudos go to them because they're striving for balance. For me, again, I'm just sharing awareness. I grasp it, whether intellectually. Some things I do practice, but I don't practice it enough to actually see the results stick. It's like fasting. haven't practiced fasting in years, but it did serve when I did it. So Charles, if we didn't have any more food, we'd probably, for a lot of us, go at least a couple of weeks. We'd probably bitch and complain a little bit, but eventually most of us realize, geez, it's been a whole week and I haven't had to eat. It's the water that would be the issue.
It becomes, your brain goes into a euphoric state. It's the same thing now that I'm doing a little more reading up on sleep, like purposely depriving yourself of sleep. Then we've talked about light deprivation, which is a little different than what this is, but there's like a whole factor to, and I was thinking about it more and more as I was listening to this guy, because it's noted in ancient cultures, and it's like 7 days is what they say to reach enlightenment. And I kept thinking and thinking about it as the guy was describing how he felt during it. And it was kind of clear to me it's the state that he's putting his brain activity into, which is sort of like a pseudo sleep stage, but he's allowed, because as he kept saying how relaxed he was. And when you look at REM sleep, it probably mimicked that to some extent. And this is the connection that we're finding out with the healing proper, like on the science side, that they know you're sorting out these memories in your REM sleep. Well, we know that we lucid dream in REM sleep, and that there's all these other spiritual connections to that. And so when I think about the brain activity, what it looks like in REM, what it would look like in stage 2 sleep, which is what I'm going to assume they mimic, with what you would call, which is why REM can look like you're awake at times, because you're literally enacting some sort of dream and or memory, and we can see that in your activity, and you'll actually show it through your eyes.
Sorry about that.
You're looking around. Oh, it's okay. Were you muted for a long time?
No. I had to use the bathroom, so I walked away.
Oh, all good. So yeah, just to finish the thing that, like, it makes sense to me why there could be this potential benefit to doing that sleep deprivation, because it would allow your brain to go into a certain pattern that could enact REM or could enact healing type properties.
Sophia says animals always know, and she's right. My cats, they hate thunder and rain. Even if rain, just rain, they get scared. And I don't know what it is, but they know when it's gonna rain. My cats will look at the window, and then a half hour later, it's raining and thundering, and I'm like, how the hell do they know? They always know.
You can sense
they sit there. They just know, man. They're smart too, cats.
Well,
I analyze
real quick,
cats.
Did you spend a decent amount of time outside as a kid, like playing outside?
Hell yeah. I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. What?
Do you remember when the sky would change a little bit, but then you look down at your arm and sometimes you get the goosebumps, you get your hair raising up, and you're like, oh, there's a storm coming in. Like, it made me remember that, because I spent a lot of time outside as a kid.
I used to smell the damn moisture in the air. You could tell when it's going to rain. You smell the moisture. No, I don't.
But I could feel the energy. It's sort of the same. I'm going to shut up again, but it's the same as when I was, and I can still sense now, but it's a little different. But I used to be able to walk past the houses with plasma TVs, and I could tell if your TV was on just by walking past your house.
Has anyone seen the video of the guy who took apart a plasma TV, or no, a computer screen too? Because they have plasma, it's the same thing. And he took it apart, and he showed, I forgot what he did, but he took it apart, and then it looked like a blank screen, and then he ran the outer layer over it, and that's when everything showed up. It was crazy. So what he did was he cut it out, and he put it into lenses of the glasses. So it looked like a plain screen, but if you put the glasses on, you can see everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it showed. Crazy. It was like proving like liquid crystals. That kind of connected to that whole concept. And then, like, there's connection that we are personally liquid crystals. I think I have footage of what you're talking about, because they did it like under, like, not a microscope, but they did it in a lab setting when they filmed it. I used it for my video about resonance frequency therapy, and it's I could pull it up, just that little small set. Actually, I might have that footage separate. I can pull it up and you can just watch it in the background. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have that. Hold on.
Charles, sorry for a second, Sarah.
Cool. Sorry, go ahead, Dom.
I think I saw a video, I think about a year ago, a gentleman that actually cracked open the Tesla motor, and the blue gook or whatever came out of it. I was curious about how the heck we get all this technology.
I took apart laptops. I've taken apart a flat screen TV. I've taken apart a projector TV. I've got the mirror to it. I've got this part right here, and I want to take this apart because this guy, and you can see it's like taped together as 2 layers. The guy took it apart and he used it in the sun, and it started. What did it catch on fire? It made it like a direct energy weapon. I'm gonna try that for myself. And I've showed this, the pieces of the laptop. This is in the TV. This flat screen TVs. This is the whole piece of it right here. I'm gonna
because then it's all about projection, right? So like whatever the internal, because I'm not 100% computer savvy, but
well, the projector TV I had this in it. These mirrors, or not mirrors, these lenses. And I was telling everyone it had 4 of them, but on the other end it had copper coils so heavy you have to use 2 hands to carry them. So there's 4 of them. And I was wondering why the TV was so heavy. It was the copper coils, not counting the thick wood. But yeah, and I threw them out. I didn't know. I should have kept them, man, because I could have probably got a good amount for each one.
Well, then that makes me think. Ooh, I bet there's.
You see a projector TV, pull over in the garbage, kick that shit open, and have some tools and take those copper. Each lens has a big copper coil. You know, most TVs got 4.
Salvage yard though, like if that's something that gets taken really quickly.
Oh hell yeah!
I was just wondering, like, how many people are really using copper, because that's my joke too now, is copper's the new gold. But I'm gonna be quiet for a bit, and I want to hear more from Dom. And I have a little video you could play while we're chatting, and I put it up, and it's just that footage of real liquid crystals. Might just be kind of cool to watch in the background. No, you don't need audio. Do you see it?
Hold on. No. Where, in a private chat?
No, in StreamYard. It's not a link. I have it up like I'm presenting it, so you just have to add it.
Oh, okay.
Because there's no audio or anything, so you just play it like sure you just play it.
Let's see.
Right.
Yeah, I wish I had my my laptop. I have to wait till Wednesday when I pay the bill to get my hotspot back so I could share. I feel naked without being able to share. Huh. So that's what happens when you electrically put electric currents on plasma. Huh.
And manipulate it with liquid, because then the liquid's gonna formulate or become more molecular based on the electric.
That's what the stars are.
I can't speak this morning. The electromagnetic influence.
What if that's what the stars are? A big plasma screen. The whole firmament is like a plasma being with the electric charge floating through it.
Yeah.
When God said, "I spoke it into existence," it was sound and frequency. And that's what we all are.
Well, when you say that would make sense for why they then still have so much influence on us and the earth. With, why we track their movement, right? Because it would be like some sort of like magnetic influence on the outside, sort of like those tables where you got the sand and you have a magnet inside and you have a magnet outside and you manipulate it from the outside of it. Sort of.
Yeah, because how do these stars, people say, oh, it's just sound and water and light. Well, how do they stay in a fixed circular motion through all this time? It doesn't even go off course. Now, people are saying the stars are out of whack and they're not going in a perfect circle. Well, maybe that's a sign of the electric. I personally think there's some reset with the sun and everything. They say the sun, it's probably like a light bulb and it burns out. I just don't see. The moon ain't even a solid object. You can see through it, for Christ's sakes. And people want to argue with me and say spaceships land on it and there's alien bases on the moon. And I'm like, bro, you can see through the damn thing in the daytime. But I don't know.
Dom, I want to know your opinion on the planets, because I haven't really heard you talk about that. But just because I know the astrology connection, and I definitely still am connected to that, so I sometimes have a hard time, like, with it not being something more substantial than some people play it off. I'm not saying like what you said is, but you know, like that it's just an illumination, which is like what I think what a lot of flat earthers believe. Sorry.
Yeah. I got a video of a commercial.
Sorry, go ahead.
I have a video of a commercial where the guys put a ladder and they climb the ladder and they change the bulb in the sun.
That's funny. Just like because of the context. Not that that's, to be honest.
I'm going to see if I still have it.
Did we lose Dom? Is he gone?
No,
he's there.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. So I'm curious what your opinion is on all that.
Well, I've heard stories that the moon is a projection from another landmass. So
could be.
You
know, it's the whole idea of being a globe would make us not seek the fact that where's all this technology coming from? Hence, different planes. But again, it's one of those things. How would it serve for the masses to know that you're living in some sort of like ant farm?
We are. We're the Titans' pets. Saturn. You ever look at Saturn, Dom, through a telescope? It looks like an eyeball looking at you.
It could be, yeah.
It's the Titan, the creators looking through their microscope at us. We're just from micro to macro. We're just little versions of them, and they're looking through the firmament is a microscope lens. Saturn's their eyeball. No, I'm joking. But anyway, what do you think about the plane nets or the wandering stars? What do you think creates these luminaries?
Couldn't tell you, Charles. If I did, I would be speculating.
Come on. Yeah, speculate. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's
I'm not saying factual.
Like, what resonates with you? Because I don't know. And I'm just like curious what everyone thinks, and especially you.
Well, yeah. Again, it's the sun and the moon. They always talk about the sun. It's always been constant. It's there. The moon, I go with the ideal that it's nothing but a satellite. This is why we have pictures down here. To think that humans have the ability to do all that and scope everything, especially when they think it's a globe. How would you be able to map out Australia then if it's down under? But again, that's just my view. All those other things, Saturn and all that, they could be landmass. And we just think that they're up in the sky. Those could be projections, just to keep the illusion going. Clouds to me more fascinating. How they can come and go when they please. I've come to my own revelation of what we call news: north, east, west, and south. As above, so below. North and south, east, and we go from east to west. But we think it's like laid down on a flat, and then there's like a north point and there's a south point. I think it's all a distraction, as you would say, Charles. Even what I'm seeking as a possibility could be a distraction. I think a lot of people that come onto certain sites, whether reading books or podcasts or YouTube, are looking for some answer to give more pleasantries or more purpose for their own meaning. So those things could be a little bit too much for most of us to deal with. But again, to speculate, I go with the idea that Atlantis is over there, Germanica is over there, Garden East of Eden's over there, Lilith, the one I share with Sarah, Lilith, the story of Lilith, the sin waiting at the door, Jesus taking up sin, could be the same character. Lord God, his wife was Lilith. It's all possibilities at that point. Yes. Or some people would say it's a riddle, which it could be. Metaphors, analogies. Again, I have this constant theme going in my head anyway, Charles and Sarah's. How does it serve? I'm not even putting my name in it. How does it serve? to know whether or not the sun is not what we think it is. It could be a crystal. It could be some sort of magnetic pull. Below could be the same kind of ideal. And the moon, who knows what it is? It could be a hologram.
The only reason it would serve is because of what we were talking about with sun gazing and the healing properties of the sun with grounding. And that's the only reason why I'm like, I feel like it has some kind of significance other than being a light bulb. That's all.
I call it a flashlight, but yeah. But then when the clouds are abstracting the sun, where do we still see the concept of the light? I don't think it's actually the sun. It's something else. Hence the yin and yang kind of drawing. You know, we think those two luminaries up in the skies are to rule, but they're actually not the darkness or the light.
Ooh.
That's why you have the yin and yang, 6 and 9. You have those two little circles within the circles. So the polarities could be the rulers, you know.
Because why exactly? That's why does the sun and the moon have that wax and wane thing that mimics all of life?
And we're to worship it, work with it, not work for it, work with it. Hence, the concept of worship. You know, but people think for some reason, people in the old days, they used to worship the sun. Well, if they lived in caves, they would have to go out there and work with the sun. I want to eat. And even that, how is it heat? That's the thing I would go with, because I've jumped out of a plane for parachuting. How does that work when it's colder up there and not down here? We would have to understand magnetic force and how it works as a collective. Most people are
and how it manipulates the density of the air.
That's another one too. Prana chi. How does that work now? You know, like is that hence how they can? Because I think there's different species working here. So as Charles was showing, you know, the plasma and all that, and they look like cells. There could be some other species that are playing with energy. In this case, they're using prana and chi to travel with Wi-Fi, and that's maybe even how spirit works. Again, I'm just using words to describe things.
Well, okay, because we've talked about that. I have physically seen Wi-Fi signal in EEG, and what it mimics is something not like a little bit more sharp. So maybe like this kind of sounds effed up, but like almost like a mix of like somebody on meth and seizure activity. And seizure activity is very, very sharp and very fast in the brain, which is unlike anything else, almost like a short circuiting thing.
And it comes to mind for me, Sarah, is the double split experiment. You know, if you observe it, it will actually change or shift. It's the same idea with putting something under the microscope. How do we now know that those things are so intelligent? When it's being observed, it will give us a different appearance.
For sure.
I think too, hi guys, good morning.
Good morning, Rebecca.
Hey, Bex.
Nice to see you. I was going to say that I think too that, you know, we know that, at least I think I understand, well, I know I understand that we're receivers and transmitters as human beings, right? Like our bioelectric magnetic force or whatever is capable of downloading and transmitting, like many antenna. I think we underestimate what our eyes can do. Like, I think that why are they not, they could be projectors as well as receivers in some capacity that we're underestimating.
And I'm not going to deny that. One thing that does resonate with me that supposedly they say is your heart to some extent actually receives the signal, feels the signal prior to your brain then computing it into what your eyes see. Yeah. So it does make me, but it's like, how could it not be both? So it's hard to say.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, to me, how I see that is more like information as we gather it, and especially as it's presented to us, either, you know, in print or in the TV or, you know, audio. I would still say that a lot of it reinforces this. What I'm trying to say is it might put a bit of a filter over our eyes that we're unaware of.
No pun intended. Or that really wasn't.
And then I also wanted to add that I was looking up recently, I looked up planet in English to Latin. And English to Latin, planet is plane.
Oh. It's hard not to deny that we're on a plane structure with, and for me, it's an interdimensional, potentially holographic. I do see, well, there's the whole flying, I'm going to butcher it, and I apologize, everybody, I'm not articulate this morning, but the whole flying lasagna, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Rainbow lasagna. Somebody in the chat will probably be like, I know exactly what you mean. And it's that's the structure, but I have always said like tetrahedral, though that does feel a little too
rainbow lasagna.
Oh, give me a minute, but somebody knows what I'm talking about. It's like what they say the structure of the universe looks like, which it looks a lot more like almost what you're looking at, like more like a liquidy sort of blob structure versus that has like a more of a flowing feel versus like when I say tetrahedral, which would have a very, distinct rough structure, which doesn't, I mean, even though it's maybe that's the interior and the exterior is a little more like this. Like the inside of think of a geode, like a crystal, the inside has got all that crazy structure going on, and the outside is these different layers that form often the rock, the outside edge, which doesn't look anything like the crystal, right?
Huh.
It's flying rainbow lasagna. I'm almost positive that's the actual full name of it. And Autodidactic did an interview with the woman that was a part of the crew that came up with it, or she's studied it, and so she's like pretty proficient on it. It's interesting because it does connect with some of the quantum aspects of things, but like we've talked about, everything's on the table. So
who's interested in the chat? I'm gonna write it, but I just ask it. Who's interested in likes when I do my readings? I know this Manly P. Hall book, I got all the chapters done. I edited it all. They're ready to go, but I'm only uploading chapters 4 and 5. I mean, yeah, and 6 and 7 will be tomorrow, the rest of the book, unless people to just upload them all so you can finish the book. But I'm going to start a new book, and I know you can hear the sound of the fan in the background. I'll fix that. But I'm doing the All Seeing Eyes, the next Manly P. Hall book I'm doing. And then I'm going to do what's the book I got here? The Secret Teachings of All Ages. But, so I got to do chapters 5 and 6 of the Occult Anatomy of Man. I realized chapter 5 got ruined. So I didn't realize 6 wasn't there either. So, but I finished that. I think I might just have a whole section for Manly P. Hall books.
I like that. I mean, I'm interested, Charles, for sure. I also know that you can put like one book into a playlist so that they play in order, top to bottom, if you want to.
That's what I do. If you go to the playlist, you'll see I got the Occult Anatomy of Man, and I just put together the Initiates of the Flame. So yeah, cool. That's why I do chapter by chapter. So so people don't have time, they could do a 12-minute chapter, and then so
that's great.
There's the Eye of Ra.
I was showing this because my one chapter I bought the Eye of the God, the pineal gland chapter, Manly P. Hall. I love his the drawings in these books. I've used them when I do my graphic design stuff. And I put them up too. That's partly why I wanted the book, because I just wanted that tangible,
It's interesting how the brain looks like in that picture, how the actual hemispheres of the brain, what's the main part of the brain called? The top part at the top there? Yeah, the cerebellum looks a lot like the same shape those liquid crystals we're going into.
Yeah, and look at that movement. So this is to show that deep breathing and just the pressure it puts on the center of the brain to give it that, to push on that area where the pineal gland is and get that movement going. And we talk about this a lot with just like flow and deep breathing, how it mimics that. So that's why I wanted to show that. I love this video.
Cool.
I'm gonna post it on my channel, so it's like actually you guys can pull like anything. I think I've already said this, but and Charles, I know you don't know me that well, but I am gonna actually create. It's the same thing with you for you, Bex. Like I'm creating background loop videos and stuff. So if you want, like, I'm gonna put it on my channel, and you can take whatever you want, or you can ask me for the direct file. I'm all about free education, and I want to share as much. I've already created a lot of free logos for a lot of people, and
Cool.
I really do enjoy doing that stuff. And so when I have the free time, I still want to keep doing it. But yeah, so just throwing that out there because like I want us all to be sharing all this.
You said logos, and it reminded me. I forgot to put my spinning logo in all my videos. Damn it! I knew I was forgetting something.
You can put it in your watermark. You can make it your watermark, and so now if people go back and watch it, it's automatically there.
I know I have that with my pictures of my camera. When I take a picture, it says Chuck the God. It's like it automatically shows up to mark my pictures. Yeah, there's a watermark on my camera too. I got to figure out how to do it.
That is kind of nice because I do spend a lot of, but I always end up like just probably cropping or doing one slight adjustment to my photos before I post them. So I almost always end up editing them just a little bit. When you learn how to do the burn and dodge tools, which is what they used to do in the dark rooms, it just makes you do the slightest adjustment and your photo will just pop just that much more because it'll just make the dark and the light, a little more realistic, taking out that haze.
Well, I figured out today, usually if I use the camera on my phone just plain and I try to zoom into a star, it's got all this interference. But today I was recording the screen and using the camera at the same time, and it came clearer. And I could zoom in and see the dancing of the star, Venus. And I was shocked because my phone all phone cameras are crap. They don't let you zoom in really good. But for some reason, the combination of the screen recorder and the camera recording, I don't know, it was different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got video of this morning right here. Here's Venus. And there's the moon. Now watch. There's the moon. And there's Venus. As I'm speaking, I realize I was muted. That's Jupiter right there, up to the left of the moon, that star. That's Jupiter. I didn't realize that till after I recorded. No. That's Jupiter, yeah. What the heck? Now it's gonna be quiet. How the heck did I do that? Huh. Yeah, the firmament might be a plasma screen, everyone.
Fascinating.
So there's the moon. There's Jupiter. There's Aries. Venus. And then at the horizon. So now,
Yeah, I'm just amped up. I got an app that could help me find what stars is. Sometimes it's not even a planet that's bright. It'll be some star I never heard of, like Sirius. Last month was real bright.
I have noticed that, like, since being a child, like, other stars are just way brighter than I remember, and or closer, or whatever.
The sky's falling.
Now it's gonna be the red canopy, and we're all gonna grow to like 10 feet tall.
That'd be dope.
To 500 years old. And
I would love to live that. I would. I don't want to die. People who say I want to die, I don't want. Fuck that, man. I watch too many people die, pass away.
We don't ever die. Do you realize that? Like, I don't know. I have to say that. So Dom, please go for it, because I don't think we die. We never truly die.
Who knows? I'm not going to say we do or don't, because I don't know.
So what happens if we get apps, and eventually that in each location that you're pinpointing where all the signs up in the sky, it could tell you what use it has, such as, like, Mercury retrograde. It's not just Mercury retrograde for all the continents, but for that location. So in the old ancient times, even probably today, the wise people would have known this is what we plant, this is how you work with currency, this is best to be conducive to take information. And I hear you talking about chapters for Manly P. Hall. Hopefully, I know Rebecca likes doing this now. It sounds like you like doing it, Charles. Can put a little bit of influence on maybe H.B. Blavatsky or Alice B. Bailey. They contributed a lot when it comes to sharing things from the unknown to the known.
Yeah, H.B. Blavatsky, I have is in Secret Teaching of All Ages with Manly P. Hall.
Mm-hmm. Those could be special beings, what we would probably call witches or wizards, But again, they all exercise their voice, and they shared, whether or not a lot of it's beyond our scope. Hopefully we catch up. It goes back to those signs, is what we call the future or the past. We're getting signs of the future or the past. But I did enjoy the part, Rebecca, you're talking about the senses can be both a receiver and also a projector, because, I've heard people talk about different bodies. We have different bodies. So there's a good chance maybe that receiving and perceiving projecting could be done from those bodies, let alone from the physical, or in this case, the senses.
Yeah, I dated a hippie guy that was actually born in a bus, and maintained his parents' lifestyle, like pretty, I don't know, just a abstract dude, And he said to me one time, smoking a joint, he's like, Bex, well, he didn't call me that at the time, but still, I like to put that retroactively into things. Bex, he's like, the earth wasn't round till what did he say? The earth wasn't round till we thought it was, or something like that. The earth wasn't round till we believed it was, right? Or something like that. And it just I don't know, to me, there's some aspect of that that's why I think there's some sort of collective believe. I think belief isn't believe. I think it comes from to believe something. And I think there is something about our minds that holds our reality in some sort of construct, in my opinion. And I think it has something to do with those senses. That's why it's so important. I mean, it's so strange that the whole world, gets the same. And again, I'm being grossly general here, but really, when you look at that Texas Instrument calculators, the Texas publishing houses, why did they have us read the same books in 48 languages? You know, that's like nullifying that anyone's written anything since Aldous Huxley or George Orwell, you know, that no one wrote something as significantly great as they did in any of those 48 languages, such that we might toss the curriculum aside. Now, they finally did in the last few years. They claimed a bunch of those books were racist, right? Like, so, or needed to be censored based on some sort of ableism or whatever. Intersectionalism has now at least made, I guess, what people are going to read in school maybe a little, ideally they're making it with less agenda, but we know that's not true, you know? So again, it's just, there's something about collective understanding and collective, what they teach us collectively. And we could say, oh, it's so that when we're traveling, it gives us something to talk about. You know, that's what I always thought. But here we sit now, like decoding those books, right? Like living in that reality. So I don't know, there's something to it.
Wow. Look within. That I never knew that. And I know what group that is, but for real. Nerd. No one ever really dies. Oh shit. Nice. Yeah, death is birth and birth is death. They're both guaranteed. When you're born, you're guaranteed to die, and when you die, you're being reborn somewhere else. I gotta find the story of the twins in the womb. When one baby told the other one, there's nothing I don't get that part of the story where the twin told the baby whenever someone leaves, they don't come back. And that's kind of like us here in this realm. People want to know if there's life after death. Well, the twins wanted to know if there's life after the womb. And the other twin answered and said, anyway, I forgot how the story goes, but I'm going to find it. The twins in the womb. And it's kind of like I said, it's like us wondering if there's life after death. I think this is a womb. Mother Earth. Peace to Random Fan.
Well, there's definitely something in the language, you know. I've said it before, but like we do live, you know, in a place where they call our organs reproductive organs, not creative organs. There's, you know, when we get here, they record our death, our birth, right? Like there's, there's something to the language that I think supports the idea that there's a fuck of a lot more going
Christos. Yeah, well, the way they drain all of our blood and stuff, you know, who knows if they're genetically reproducing us and putting us on other lands. That would be crazy. Mm-hmm. That's just a theory. I'm not saying that's factual, but there's something to them taking out our organs and draining our blood before we die. And I don't want to hear that. Oh, you know, it's because you'll rot, or some excuse someone had told me before. You'll rot away or something. We're gonna rot anyway. It's so the body, so the body could last longer until the funeral. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's what
that's why I say destroy your organs now. Drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, so they can't use them.
Well, and they do. They remove those humors, right? Like, in fact, they used to put those They used to put cemetery fencing around. They used to put little tiny cast iron fences around grave sites, right? And I wonder if that's before they started pulling out the humors. And I wonder if there was some sort of like, you know, they don't let us sit beside our loved ones when they die. We've already believed that, you know, death is what it is. So they used to have pamphlets out saying that how to revive someone after they died from lightning. My stepmom has this book of old wives' tale pamphlets. And one of them is like to take the body and you shock it in big tubs of ice, right? But still, it was like up to hours after the body was dead, you could revive it. after it had been electrocuted. Like, so I don't know. I think there's just something about life and death that they give us the instruments to hear each other's heartbeats. But what if that your body shuts down into hibernation and the stethoscope doesn't pick up that lowest vibration? Isn't that convenient? You know? So again, I'm not trying to, I know it sounds like I'm totally going on board with this theory like I believe it. I'm just saying it's something that if you stand back and look at how they deal with the bodies of our loved ones when they die, it's 100% like the most secretive thing that they do, you know? So
If I can
I'm with
entertain
you on that.
something, Sarah, Rebecca, and guys.
Go ahead.
Most of us, maybe an exception to the rule, the body's aging. It's always aging.
No.
So knowing that, when we say things such as we don't die, we have to make it clear, what are we talking about? So if we know the body's aging, and then they're removing the blood, I would call that the memory, the soul. The essence no longer is in it. I'm going to play with the idea that we're the essence to these things. It might not die, and then we can play with the ideal of mortals opposed to immortals. But for some people, they still think they're the body. They're inhabiting the body. It's a beautiful vessel, needs to be taken care of. But if we can come to some sort of a awareness, can't even say agreement, awareness that the body does age, and then we see people no longer in their vessels at 60 or 70 or 100. I say no longer in the vessel, because there's people that still think I'm the vessel. So then how can one entertain the ideal that we never die? You know, I use the ideal that we have entry points, hence why we have horoscopes, where other people want to value the ideal that they're in the body, when they're in the womb of the vessel, which it could be. And some people might be able to record that. No different. Some people can record the ideal when they get organ transplants. They have memories of that. And that opens up the ideal, for me anyway, that the soul and the blood are the same. Other people are going to use other words to try to describe it. Again, this is an individual journey. Groups of us can help each other by saying, okay, well, we'll use very similar language. You know, I play with the idea that we have many bodies, you know, astral bodies, ether bodies. And of course, this is where we have the lower triangle uniting with the upper triangle. Again, those are just little breadcrumbs, you know, esoteric teachings. But I do value that we have many rebirths, and then we do reincarnate into this realm, but we have many rebirths while we're in it. Can some of us keep jumping back and forth into very similar vessels or have recollection? Then we're talking about the blood. Anyway, that's my view, guys.
And we love your 2 cents.
And us Canadians don't even have cents anymore. We don't even have pennies anymore. That's sad.
Bex, I saw you on mute. You better start talking.
I'm eating a bagel.
Nice. Little capers on there, little salmon and lox.
No, it's a cinnamon bagel with cream cheese and strawberry jam.
Ooh,
delicious.
I used to get like a cinnamon bagel, and then you toast it just a little bit. And, oh, yeah. I'm gonna try to make my own bagels. I have a video of making sourdough, but I'm gonna try to do one of pizza dough, focaccia, and then see if I can make my own type of donut, because I try to do the sourdough and it sits with me a lot better than some of the other breads. But it's like, also since I've worked on my fermentation and or having like kombucha, which is fermentation, or something like vinegary, like that's been set up like that, it's been very helpful for the gut. So it's like I can tolerate other things just better in general.
Yeah, actually, speaking of gut flora, I was watching someone talk about fortified wheat versus organic wheat, and then I put that together with the someone saying recently that stone milling allows the natural bacteria in wheat to not be cooked while it's being ground, and that people shouldn't be so down on fortified wheat. We do need to work in a world where we don't have to rush through the process so much, that the mass production of the wheat actually takes the heat of the grinder, takes the natural bacteria out, which is why they're adding that stuff. So I know that a better idea is to have stone ground wheat or grind it yourself at home.
I use that.
But ultimately, the idea that fortifying the wheat is a negative, it's actually them just putting vitamins back in that got cooked out of it in the milling, in the grinding process.
Yeah. That's why I talk about like diet, especially, and our forms of healing is all relative, because like everybody has got their theories right now. It's like, oh, you shouldn't do this, you got to do this, or this is how you have to eat. And I've just seen like everybody react differently. Like I actually do really good on a vegan diet. But I haven't actually stayed consistent with it, mostly because, well, okay, anyway, don't need to get into why, but my ex had a lot of issues. Oh gosh, I have to stop calling him that. Just remember that right now, especially because I'm with Dom. Okay. One of my relationships, is that maybe a better way to say it? They had massive gut flora complications, and we tried all kinds of different things, but we did try him on a vegan diet and he did not do well. He actually did end up having memory complications, and he kind of freaked me out because it was like some mental stuff was going on. And it was weird because then we went, and it was a vitamin B problem. Okay. So there was some consistencies with us not preparing for that properly, especially for him. But regardless, and then I just kind of just saw this, Marcel posted, it's more affirmation than prayer, and that's what I kind of get at constantly, is the intention factor too. But going back to the bread thing, yes, and millet wheat, which is still in existence, is like what the current, or a lot of wheats are, a lot of the whole wheats that you see now in processed food is like, been genetically modified into that. And that has all to do with this being able to withstand the pesticides that it's needed to be able to grow. But we can still bring millet wheat back, which is very highly resistant and is one of the original OG strands.
Our diets could be somewhat like the Four Seasons. We have to sojourn with our diets. Maybe we get too comfortable with eating this, meat, whether wild or domestic, or a vegetarian diet or a pescatarian diet. Maybe as we age, because I know different, we'll call them times, when you're 30 or 40, different planets, planes, whether it's Saturn or Venus, rules over us. So maybe there's a lot of science involved in all of this, and we just haven't been taught that, whether individually or as a group. Because I don't think one particular. Go ahead.
The seasons thing, I think, is something I forget about, and I think that is really important. It's like eating what's in season, what's right with the time.
Even our emotions, our mental planes. This is why some people probably are more active with their bipolar than they are, like, say, schizophrenic. A lot of them play roles in those different alignments. As we become more advanced, I'm going to assume that we're getting more advanced. Maybe we can break those things down. Maybe reading one's aura will probably give a better indication. Okay, this person is going through this. This is the type of food you should eat. This is the type of environment you should be in. These are the people that you should associate while you're during those ages, or times in this case. Seems like a lot of work, and a lot of people don't like details.
Well, and I would say that there's absolutely no way that our diets are supposed to be identical. There's just absolutely no way these bodies were designed for us all to be insisting that each other eat the same thing, and that what works for one works for another. Then we would have people saying, then we would be able to say that that a Nigerian diet is what a Westerner needs to make them well. Meanwhile, a Nigerian diet is like severely limited due to economics. So it's like the idea that, the idea that Supersize Me, for instance, couldn't have been countered with a different man or different person that would have gone and eaten those. I wanted to pose up my boyfriend at the time. That guy could eat McDonald's every day and he wouldn't have phased him, right? Like it just didn't phase him. So I'm not trying to talk about it on the most negative sense. You know, of course I'm going to throw the McDonald's out there, you know, like, but I'm going to say on the flip side, like for anyone to walk around with a perfect diet and perfect health, insisting that's what's going to solve somebody else's problems, it's absolute insanity.
Well,
you
and
know,
real
there's
quick, you just said, like talking about the 30 days, what was his intention behind that? He had a negative vibe the entire time.
Like I'm allergic to being a vegan, for real. I've twice been to allergists after introducing meat back into my diet after being a vegetarian, you know, and then being exposed to something in the product that gave me giant hives that wouldn't go away for 3 months. So then people are like, well, you should stay away from meat. No, one bit of whatever I'm exposed to gives me giant hives. I look like the elephant man, you know, like, so I choose to continue to consume stuff so I don't end up in a place where I can't even go to work because I scratched my face in the middle of the night and now my face is swollen because I'm exposed to something, you know. Anyways.
Sometimes you got to go through hell to get to heaven. That saying, you got to suffer for you to get better. Part of your body being sick.
Yeah, and healing process.
Yeah, twice in my life. Twice in my life I've been to doctors, and their recommendation was stay eating meat. That's all they could do.
I guess in that point there's healing diets, there's maintaining diets. So it's like pharmaceutical that most of those are tested on healthy people. So a diet that might be benefit for somebody is when they're healthy, and then there's other people that are their body's in healing or detox mode, so their diet would have to shift at that point. Then you can factor other things such as blood types and all that kind of stuff, because that all plays a role. So, but yeah, I'm with you, Rebecca, when it comes to not one particular diet. And when I say diet, I'm not just talking about the physical diet. I'm talking about the mental and emotional diets too. They play a major role because my emotions could be shifting. I say a woman that's, for example, going through menopause, for example, that's a different diet going on. They can call it whatever they want.
Yeah, but even if 50 women on going through menopause would not necessarily have the need for the same diet.
True, I'm with you. It's like a lock, and each one has a different combination to it. So a person would have to know thyself, observe thyself, you know, and even among family members. Sorry, Rebecca. Among family members, every child might have a different diet. They might be forced. Okay, kids, we're going to force you to eat 3 times a day. We're going to force you to eat meat, opposed to a fruitarian diet. This is where we actually abuse our kids in a lot of ways. I'm not saying we do it intentionally, but and our environment plays another role too. You know, a kid that lives around nothing but electrical wires hanging above their house would affect some of them more than others in that same household.
It's also intention again.
When I stopped eating meat, which I still do here and there, I try to get grass-fed, and who even knows if that's beneficial, right? Labels are not the labels. You know, these people would put a label to make you believe it's that, they only care about money. They don't care about your health. Doctors, of course he's going to say keep eating meat. He wants you to stay sick. But this ain't medical advice. I don't do that. But I try to stay away from that medical shit. But
I'm just saying allergy tests couldn't determine what was the source of the reaction. So that's where in the prescription of don't avoid something that when you put it back in your diet is making, you know, it's and it's worked out well for me. So yeah, they definitely tried to find the source of what was going on.
It really comes down to that fine. Oh wait, can you guys hear me all right? I might have to
a little
adjust my
bit,
mic.
kind of low.
Let me
Yeah,
try
a little
this.
low.
A little low, but I can hear you.
What about now?
Yep, there you go.
Okay, good. Yeah, totally. You guys are touching on the whole seasonal aspect. That's definitely a part of it. but in a couple words so I don't spiral off because I can lose track of where I'm going sometimes with my trains of thought. Um, oh, there we go. We got the Wandering Warrior. Hey, Chuck, before I
No,
say what I'm about to say, you're a Sagittarius, right?
Aries.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, is your moon sign or ascendant by chance
Fire.
Sagittarius?
I know it's a fire sign. Uh, I have to look into that. I'm
Okay.
on the cusp of Taurus. I was born April 19th.
Oh,
I
Charles, you
So,
heard
and I are
someone
super
mention
close.
something about wandering having to do with the Sagittarius energy the other day, so it made me think of the Wandering Warrior title you took on. But
huh.
yeah, I'm thinking of someone else maybe said they're a Sagittarius on here. But what I was gonna say is with the um eating. Yeah, it's like one of the best things I've heard from a guy I like to listen to, Troy Casey, as well as many other holistic health teachers and practitioners and just wise people, is the best diet is no diet. So, just like y'all were saying earlier, like there can't be like one diet across the board, and that basically it's a fine tuning process based off of things like geographical location and the whole, the biomes, and then the whole seasonal aspect, right? At times when we might eat more, we might eat less, or have more fruits and vegetables, or eat things raw, or have things cooked, or times for juicing, times for fasting. And so, some people have things that work for them, whether that's the vegan route, the keto route, um, with the carnivore, from the things that might be quote unquote non-denominational, for lack of better words, and maybe more encompassing, to the things that could be very rigid and strict. There's a whole bunch of different things these days of the spectrum of lifestyle slash eating habits and practices. Um, yeah, it really does come down to, the individual fine tuning, understanding their ancestry, and how, we not all, and large or slash small intestines are made in the same length. So yeah, you were talking about the organs earlier. Like, that's another thing I've heard people talk about is, not that we have to get super in depth, but like the point is you can get that in depth because there are so many variables, and it's like the more variables there are, like in a good way, positive light to look at it, the more opportunities there are for the individual, or maybe small or large collective of persons or peoples, to experiment and figure out what is working for them day by day, or go a period of time including or excluding things and trying it all out so you can learn your body. And through that process, it's like, yeah, you'll be able to get in touch with yourself more just through the going through it, having the experiences. But y'all got it.
Yeah, I agree with that, Christos. And Dominic said in the back that, like, there's other ways to consume things. We can consume things through our skin. The sun gives us vitamins. When I'm really hungover, I go into the tub and have a soak before I even drink water because it's going to make me sick, right? So there's all of those variables would also come into play. We could have
Right,
two people with the
intake.
exact same diets. Yeah, one's going outside, putting their feet on the ground and absorbing sunlight, and that's changing the way their body alchemizes the food, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, totally. I'm glad you said that. And I do appreciate that Dom has brought that aspect in the past with, things of a topical nature, and the organ, biggest organ's the skin. And it's funny, I was actually listening to that same guy. I brought up Troy Casey talking yesterday about he has a friend of his who's a vegan, and like I don't remember his exact name. He's an athlete or some type of bodybuilder or something. But anyway, this guy even does like urine therapy and like all of this other stuff, and he's like in really good shape, and it works for him. So kind of just echoing the point earlier. But why I brought that up is because this guy actually, it's like he's eating mangoes and avocados and such, but big on the being in the sun a lot and exactly what you're saying, absorbing through the skin. Totally. And then how that affects the circadian rhythm as well, and grounding. And so, yeah, it definitely extends outward beyond eating, no doubt. It's intake as a whole thing, intake of our being.
Which is why
Yeah.
fasting is so powerful, because then you're allowing it to, like, whatever's in there to clear out and the body to do its own processing, which is then why sometimes it's easier to
Autophagy.
allow things to come back in. And if you guys have fasted, how much did your taste buds and your cravings just crazily change after that? Like, my whole eating structure is so different. People tell me that all the time, because like I go to a restaurant, I just clear the plate really fast, and now it's like very slow and methodical about what I'm doing, and then I'm only eating about half.
Yeah.
Eating
Well,
like
and
you're in prison.
that's why I
You
think
got
they,
sick.
you know, they say to, sorry, go ahead, Charles.
I said it's not good to eat fast, but yet in prison they make you more or less you got 5 minutes to eat. But yeah, that's not good at all.
Yeah, I was gonna Jax just noted that diluted pee is great for gardens, and I think that might be why this urine therapy works for
Yep.
people willing to try it, is that they're not actually growing, the food isn't grown directly for your genetics. When you put your own urine in a garden, you're actually giving all your wellness and illness and genetic material to those plants to absorb from the soil what you need. So I would imagine
Yes.
that's where urine therapy probably comes in.
There's
It's
I
not
thought
for me.
sorry, really quick.
drinking here. I thought that was gonna go. I was like, ooh.
But I was going to
I
add
can back
too
that
that
up.
that's where I think people you know, that's where prayer and intention over your food may have some, you know, with people who don't have religion and don't say grace, for instance, they're still making themselves a meal with intention, you know, or having gratitude for it. The kosher practice is to have food blessed by a rabbi, and that's where kosher food comes in. That food has been already blessed. It's been prayed over, you know, so
Very good point.
I'm not saying that that's the answer, but I'm saying that supports the idea that belief and intention alters the way we alchemize our food. You know, there's people, very strict kosher people would not eat food that is not kosher, has not been prayed over by a rabbi, period. You know, and that has to do with their belief that that food is more nourishing and has been, again, I'm not Jewish, so I can't claim what that is, but you know, other religions also practice different gratitude or prayer rituals over their food. And then I would imagine non-religious people, they actually do tend to have intention. Now, whether the intention is, oh, I'm making this beautiful vegan food because this vegan food is what I need, or whether the intention is like, fuck it, I don't believe anything, you know, I'm supposed to eat whatever I want, you know, like it still has a form of prayer behind it.
Yes, there's actually some truth to that. And this is actually a really good way, or a good point to bring up, is that there's this whole series of books called Anastasia out of Russia, and it has to do with this whole living regeneratively. So if you're putting that kind of intention into everything you do, everything you hunt, eat, cook, plant, you know, and crap into, which then just gets recycled back into it, think about that energetically. If you're putting that kind of intent behind it from the get-go. Like, that's why I feel like that is what kind of makes sense, and how we've been maybe more or less more successful until we needed to, for some reason, go to space and build, you know, robots.
Yeah, halal. The only difference is they slice it in the neck and drain the blood. I think it's right away compared to here. They shoot it in the head, which they say is very bad. It doesn't drain it right. I learned that from this woman that's from what's that country? I forgot. It's in Africa. She owns a pizza shop over there, and she taught me what halal and all that means.
Exactly, Charles. Yeah, I wasn't as aware. I know halal has practices of how they, the only thing I know about halal treatment of is how they butcher their animals. It's supposed to be fast and blood drain quickly. I would imagine there's some sort of prayer involved as well, but I'm not as aware of what the halal practices are for whether they bless the food or not. I know that halal people who eat a halal diet can eat kosher food. The other way around is not necessarily the case because the halal food has not been blessed by a rabbi.
Until people start watching the documentary Earthling and then see how that's done, and it's kind of like make shit as they make it up.
Mm-hmm.
But there is value, obviously, Rebecca, to blessing whether any kinds of foods, hopefully when it's growing, opposed to not when you're just about to, chop it up or kill it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A documentary for a lot of people to watch if they can bear through it, called Earthling.
Cool, I'll check it out. What do you know what platform it's on?
I'll even post it here. But well, I can only talk for myself. I had to watch it in increments because it was just hard to watch. I'll get it for you, Rebecca, here, and I'll post it here, hon.
I know if people are uncomfortable with praying over their food, they don't really know how because they think it's too religious or something like that. I've got a new method. I think you just have to kiss your first bite.
Speak positive. It's not necessarily praying. Speaking positive energy. If people know what cymatics is, and words are definitely energy, and like I said, I want to get one of those metal plates with sand, do the frequency, and see what words really create a non-chaotic looking symbol. Because I don't know. It probably depends. I mean, if the food is like, if you're eating dead meat, I don't know how good that is for the body. Period. It's like eating stuff that is going to deteriorate in your stomach. Like, I don't know. Just eating a dead animal. You really think about it. Is that really what our body was made for, or was it made to just eat fruit and vegetables? I don't know. I hear so much different stuff. I guess it's whatever you like. Like Dominic says, know thyself. Know how your body reacts to what you're putting in it, because you are what you eat.
Well, we do things called material cooking opposed to spiritual cooking, even though they tell us their version of spiritual cooking. We eat dead substance. It's not like freshly killed, freshly juiced apples. So, so there's probably a lot of nutrients that are missing in all that. So the body just figures I'll have more of it, or it sends a signal to the brain, and the brain, more times than not, that's already been brainwashed, will get mixed messages. And a lot of times we hear words like, I like my food, opposed to, is it healthy? The body will communicate with us, even though I don't always listen to my body. It will communicate and say, no, don't eat that. That's of no use. But I like it. Again, it has no use to you. It's a lot of times for us, it's our likes and our convenience is why we eat. So we're going through the motion. As I say jokingly, I've said it on Cage and a whole bunch of other people's site. I go to a grocery store to pick what my fake food I'm going to eat next.
Exactly, Dom. I did click that link. I clicked that link, Dom, and I hop skipped and jumped through the movie like I like to do. And whoa, dear, I see what you're saying.
It's a tough one.
Intense.
Yeah, it's a tough one, Rebecca. It is a tough one. It's one of those things like, is that the fucking shit we're doing to the animals, let alone to ourselves?
Mm-hmm. I think it's important, though, as people who were able to be free thinking about the germ a few years ago and the brevity and gravity of the scenario, that they love to give us these images to see the worst, so I'm not saying, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen that way. I'm just saying to assume the worst is always the majority because it's about money. I don't know is necessarily the case, right? Like what I hop, skipped, and jumped through there shows the breeding ground for illness and disease. And with that, I would say that it's not productive for a producer to have animals where they're what am I trying to say? Where their lifestyle that they're providing for them is so degraded that you've got a percentage dying of illness and disease. Obviously there's always going to be a bit of that, but a good shepherd, right? A good shepherd, whether it's in a warehouse or out in the field, is still going to minimize that. So it's kind of like going into those dog breeders and finding the worst dog breeder possible and putting that up as this is how dogs are bred. I would assume that some of it is a bit of that propaganda to make people feel bad about the choices they can't change. I live in a city, right? I'm on a minimum wage. I can't necessarily buy organic meat. I'm going to walk past that meat every day after I see this kind of video, and I'm going to feel bad, but there's nothing someone can do about it except for say, choose not to eat meat, And that being said, now you're being forced into a decision based on one movie you watched, right? It's just, it's a form of psychological manipulation that's always from that fear-based thinking. And, typically me, I'm going to say, hey, I'm sure it's happened. They have the video of it, but I'm going to say it's a minority, not a majority problem.
I'm with you, Rebecca. It's kind of like showing the rich and the famous. It is the majority. It's the minority, not the majority. So then the question would be, how are the masses being fed and with what? You're right. That is probably over, but that's like saying, okay, well, only those people are under slavery. Last time I remember, it's the human race, or in this case, all the species. We're just as strong as the weakest link or the strongest link among us. Hence the village growing a child.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be aware.
Point.
That's all.
Yeah, good point. So
it's just awareness I'm sharing.
No, it's a good point, because if we're all collectively, if we're all connected, and trees are all connected and the pigs are all connected, then one pig suffering is still causing the general population of pigs to suffer, right? On some front. That even, again, that's a society. Now I'm talking about a society of livestock. Does what happens on one farm affect the pigs on another farm? I know on a microbiological level, that's what the CDC does, right? That's what the CDC does. They have their experiments on one continent and they check to see how that is responding in a lab on another continent. That's one of the things they do at the microbiological level. So how could it not be the case? So even if it's not the actual effect to the pig on one farm, being treated poorly, that it actually brings down the well-being of pigs on other farms, it could be the microbiology inside those pigs talking to each other. Mm-hmm. This is not medical advice.
True. No, very true, Rebecca. So, again, it goes with animals too, yeah. Or even trees. Are we supposed to be eating all the different parts from different animals together in one plate, or are we supposed to be eating different variations of bananas and apples from different kinds of vines or trees? Again, a farmer would be only eating mostly from his land or the land that he's using. So that's where I think a lot of that has gone array on us, and we're part of the results. the way we're living, how we're living. Diabetes wouldn't be up only because of sugar. No different. Cancer can't just be just because of smoking or drinking or whatever. I think there's a lot of factors involved that puts the body in those kind of disease modes, and we just give labels to them. I'm a diabetic. Okay, so what would our forefathers called it? I'm just sick.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not medical advice. It's just an open discussion on the topic. It's just stuff that was read off of Google. Open discussion, no medical advice, for entertainment purposes only. So it's entertained.
Speaking about entertaining, I need to entertain. Not that it sounds more exciting. I need to entertain getting a few things done. I'm on a good roll here, so I'm gonna hop down and I'll be in the chat for a while. If you're still going in an hour, in an hour or so, I'll hop back up, Charles. Thanks very much for having me up. Nice to see you all.
Thank you for coming up, Bex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And like I said, I'll be back if I can. I've just I got to go get some stuff done. And much love to you in the chat, and I'll be listening for sure. Bye for now.
Awesome. Have a good one, Bex. Talk to you soon. Bex just had her birthday yesterday. Just going to have to say that again. Be that annoying person that's like, happy birthday, Bex.
Yeah, happy birthday. And I agree with you, G-Sharp, on that. Just like they say, the sun kills white people. That's hilarious. It's not the sun, it's the stuff that's put on to block the sun.
Sorry, Charles, I need to ask you. Maybe you can give me this answer. Where is this white person that everybody talks about? Where is this white person?
I don't know.
Or black person?
That's what
I'm
I
looking
love
for both.
stuff. But me, I don't know about all that stuff. It's just nonsense. It's an ideology brought up to keep the mind slave, to divide us and think these stupid, nonsensical stuff. People that put certain stuff on, I guess, that's what causes the big C word. And it sucks. I can't even, Pete Cherie, I can't even speak freely, man. That fires me up. I feel like I'm a fucking being puppeted here. Strings are pulling me. It fires me up. I want to be able to speak openly, and I can't. I gotta watch what I say. Can't say this. God forbid you say that word. You're gonna get a spanking. I've gotten too many spankings. I've been a very bad boy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, every day they're taking something down at 4 years old. They keep sending me emails. Oh, it's not going to count against you, but it's a new policy they're putting into play. Since when can you punish someone for a new policy you just put in an hour ago or something 4 years ago, right? That's how they do it, man. That's how they work. We just put that policy in an hour ago, so anything you said 4 years ago, we're gonna terminate you because of it. Typical law.
But is that how they somewhat anchors here to be in the world, opposed to being of the world kind of ideal? Because it seems like a lot of people do get caught up in these. I can't say this term. I can't say this word. I can't say that word. Isn't that forming attachments and resistance as a possibility? Because to me, those are just words, and I know they're relative to a certain point. It's no different when people say the word truth or honesty or love. It's what intent we, or maybe even how we enchant ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, I get it. It's going to continue with or without us, Charles, obviously. We've inherited a whole bunch of terms, language from our forefathers, whether they or aware of it or not. That's how energy kind of works.
I can't afford to get spanked anymore. As much as it's a free thinking channel, just some things that I can't control, man. And if I get spanked anymore, I'm going to be beyond black and blue. I'll be in ICU That's where I'm at now, actually. I'm in ICU at YouTube, just hanging on. But, and then if you move to other platforms, I've done it. I have other platforms, BitChute and all these other places. I like YouTube. I ain't even gonna lie. I like the way it's set up. I like using it. I just don't like some of the policies. That's the problem. I'm used to YouTube and all that, you know?
I guess, Charles, if there's a system and the system somewhat breaks us, how we can actually put it back to them is make them work for it. Like, I'm not saying for you to do that. I'm obviously, you get to use YouTube, and I know there's policies. Eventually, hate speech will be probably one of the major killers for people. You know, when people say the N word, I said, you don't realize that's hate speech. Oh, but we all say it. I said, no, it's still hate speech. Now, you don't need to have YouTube validate that. You just have to talk to another human being and say, well, listen, you know, like if my father ever heard those words spoken out of my mouth, or somebody saying it to me, my father said, what respectful human being would ever accept those kind of words, even in jest? It's like saying the B word to a woman. You know, I joke with my buddies when they start calling women chicks. I said, when did you start dating farm animals? You know, again, that's sloppy language. Now, when it comes to using somebody's platform, in this case, YouTube, Google, whatever you want to call it, it's our responsibility to understand. And I'm hearing what you're saying, that they're changing the policy as they go along. Isn't that what fiat currency has been doing? Devaluing the currency. I'm pretty sure if we lived in Venezuela, we would have an issue with our devaluing of our currency to a point where it's useless. And then you find out it's the American currency that's making our currency useless. You know, a lot of countries could say the same thing. So again, I'm just sharing awareness. What people do with it, it's up to them. But a lot of people will bring in their likes and dislikes into those kind of conversations. So then they're going to be slanted. It's like when a person chooses never to vote, now they actually have a bigger view. It's usually the person that chooses to vote for one side or the other. I said, you've narrowed your perspective. But I have to vote. Who told you that? Well, I wouldn't be an American or Canadian if I didn't vote. I said, that doesn't make you a Canadian or an American because you vote. In the old days, it's, you know, slaves, if they can get value from them, they would say, listen, just put an X here. I think we still do that now, don't they, when they vote? I don't even know. I haven't voted in a long time. But I still do observe the policies. You know, I don't look at Donald Trump or Biden as the major figures of any countries. You know, they're just puppets like a lot of us are. You know, they're just working for the people that put them in those positions. That's tough for a lot of people, because then they'll start defending it or attacking something. I say, okay, then, and I usually tell my buddies, I said, so let's say whatever I'm saying is full of crap. How do you think the system works? And then I just sit back and I hear the stories. I said, that's your imagination, which it could work, but how does it actually work? How does this realm really work? Or does people just want to live in a glass bubble and say, but I'm not getting enough fiat currency, or I'm not getting the right job, or I'm in the wrong form? And even that, who says it's the wrong form?
Cricket, cricket. Silence is good, though. It's something like I still find myself needing to have more patience with. I've gotten a little better, but as you can tell with my interruptions, part of it is that you get to know a good new group of people, and it gets me amped and excited. And so then that's part of that energy of needing to sort it out, which is also probably connected to when I can't be as articulate. It's sort of like a nervous tick. Even though I don't feel nervous, I feel very comfortable with you guys. But it's just, yeah, it's interesting.
I think Charles has probably stepped aside for a bit, actually. Sarah, yeah, please share. Sometimes I get tired of hearing myself.
I don't. Most people don't, but I know you have said that. But I was also trying to give you the floor a little more because you know me. I can talk about anything, and I often have a story to connect it.
No, I have no problem hearing you, Sarah. You want to talk? It gets me to be in the student role, just hearing. But when I'm talking, I'm actually still in the student role. I'm hearing
I know.
myself.
Me too.
So.
Always. And I'm kind of trying to work on coming up with a good series of questions. So, just being able to listen to you talk sort of helps me try to figure out like what I want to ask you. So I'm trying to come up with like good, deeper questions. So some of the stuff too, when I do more of an interview for you, I might re-ask some of the questions we've already visited. Some of the ones that I've already presented to you. Just FYI, and then you can articulate it verbally.
Good question. Here, since we're here, and Charles, I hope he doesn't mind. What questions would you want? What questions would you want somebody to ask you? And those are the questions that you ask others.
Yeah.
It's not about me because you don't know my story, and I rarely share my story, but
I think you know that when I do ask you, right? Yeah. Because it's sort of my own journey that I'm trying to figure out, which is why I'm asking you, because I'm trying to figure out what's your perspective to develop mine. And sorry, go ahead, Charles.
I didn't think y'all could hear me. No, it's all right if y'all talk. I was listening the whole time. I like hearing Dominic speak. The way he interprets the words he chooses to use will get you thinking, or the way he presents things is different from most.
I stay in the hemisphere a little bit more.
Again, like there's been a few people, and I feel like, Charles, you really harbor a good environment for these kind of discussions and also engage in this yourself, but this kind of constant like ability to pluck at really everything. I love it. And I think some people, it drives them a little nuts because they just feel like there's no end to any of it. But I do feel like I'm constantly learning and developing because of it, and only becoming stronger because of it.
I think what happens.
That's one. All these people that come here, man, it's a blessing to meet like-minded people. It's like I always say, the circle in my life doesn't see things. They're enslaved in the mind. The mental, the physical, the spiritual are all enslaved fully. They're in prison with no bars. You don't see them. No bars, but they're in prison.
If I can share, guys, in these kind of platforms, it's usually about, we can talk about morale. It's all, it's when people get caught up, well, what can we do about it? Is that these platforms aren't really designed to do, unless you're going to do like a how-to, like have your video on and show how to fix a car and you're talking. A lot of that, it's when you're doing something, you're doing it. This could be somewhere where people can strategize, but even that, I wouldn't really strategize about taking down a system publicly on their system. It'd be like me renting a room at some Mason's restaurant, and I'm talking about bringing down the Mason. Kind of defeats the purpose, but that usually indicates a person's still naive in the process. So, but there is people. Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. I might start a Mason lodge and talk about them.
Well, Masons aren't that bad, Charles. Go ahead. Sorry, Charles, are you there?
Yeah.
I don't think I got to press the button. No, I know not all Masons are bad. I was almost paying dues when I was doing carpentry. I put an app in to pay your dues at your local, what is it called? Your local union. That's right in the time when being grandfathered in was going out of style, and you had to go to school for everything. So I said, screw that. And then I realized people told me, oh, there's a long waiting list. They were just saying that because they didn't want no new people coming in. And I got fooled by that. I ain't gonna lie. They fooled me good. But anyway, yeah, I don't. It's the people at the top on echelon, man. That's who I'm focused on. The people at the bottom, like I said earlier, Dominic, they're all being used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a Christian or a Catholic or whatever. They're not going to understand it. Most of them barely will read the book. So, a lot of Masons aren't going to read Morals and Dogmas, let alone follow Manly P. Hall. I think he just happened to be in the club. And as he was working his way up, they probably found a lot of his ability, So, again, it's one of those things where, I had a conversation the other day with a friend of mine, and I told him, I said, yeah, there's people in the that we know that are in the mayors or whatever, they're in clubs, and he didn't understand that. I said, do you know if they're in the Knight of Columbus? He goes, well, yeah. I said, they're in the club. Because what do you mean? Knight of Columbus is just another branch, but they don't realize those are for networking purposes. Rarely you're going to find somebody that in these clubs, Rosicrucians or whatever, that are going to understand esoteric stuff, how material works and all that kind of stuff. So that would have been a bonus for you. Actually, it was a bonus for you, Charles, not to be in those clubs. You would have been very limited, it's a drinking and having stogie place or the Lions Club.
They would have kicked me out because I wouldn't submit to no religion. I am God. I don't need to bow to any of their foolishness. The only person I would bow to and give thanks is to my mother and father, to my ancestors. And I probably wouldn't even bow. I'd just be thankful. But yeah. I know people don't agree with me when I say I am God, but that's fine. That's their perception, their perspective, however they see it, how they see it.
Well, that's for them to learn. Like, I value the concept of the essence. Could the essence, the breath of life, be from God, be God? Could be. I just, they're words, and I get it. When a person says a statement and it sounds like truth, a lot of people are going to attack without, it's better for you to ask them. So what do they think they are? It's like when somebody used to ask me about my diet, I said, wouldn't it be better for you to ask what type of diet you have? Because I realize most of us are self-absorbed, unless they're being clever, which most people are. Well, why would you be a vegetarian? Or why would you be a meat eater? Well, because I am. I said, well, then I can say the same thing. Those aren't conversation I like to engage in, because I realize there's no details to it. It's just it's a pissing contest, especially with among men. It's a pissing contest, and I'm like, I'm not interested in pissing on the wall.
Pissing in the wind.
Yeah. Pissing downstream.
That's rich coming from you, Mr. Peabody.
Hey, easy. I'm trying to live that down. I do like peace.
Well, I say God, people think wrong. I separate the creator from God. The creator or the creators. Something put this all together.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't just happen by accident. But as far as the God in the Bible, I think that's just a system. But the only creators I could prove is my mother and father, my grandparents, great-grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the DNA or my lineage I can prove that created me. But I don't, as far as these creators that made this realm, I don't see them anywhere. I don't talk to them. They could be long gone by now.
True. Or invisible. Again, it goes to the onus. The onus goes on to the person that believes in the Big Bang, and let alone people that believe in the globe. I said, the onus is on you to explain yourself. I'll just sit back and hear you. I'm not going to challenge them by talking about flat earth. Once they get exhausted, I said, does any of that make sense to you? Whoever that may be, because I realize a lot of things, it's not about the senses. And I said, okay, if that works for you. But most of them, they don't realize that trying to explain or justify one's position is what we call culted. You've become culted. To defend or attack others is culted. You're in a cult. Try to explain if me and you had a brother, Charles, and he went into a cult, not an occult, but culted, what would we explain to him or try to explain to him to try to make him realize he's in a cult? We wouldn't. He would have to come to his own awareness. But what most people do is they feed on people's ignorance. They tell them what they want to hear. How many people do that at work? They tell their boss what they want to hear, opposed to telling them what their truth is. I don't like my job, but I'm still good at it. So I'm here to work for fiat currency. I'm not here to work for you. I'm here to work for fiat currency. Most people aren't even aware of that information. They just think, well, I'm working for the boss. I said, so let me understand that. You work for him and then he pays you the following week. What has he done for you or her? Done fuck all for you yet, unless you're talking about exercise. And this is where we're at still. But then people use justification, but I need money. I said, no, you don't. You might be able to get some of your needs fulfilled from that piece of paper. More times than not, is our bling bling, our wants. So put in that kind of situation, Charles. Fuck it, I can go to any mall and talk to some elderly. I'm like, fuck, fuck all still. But that would be being arrogant saying that to them, because then I would have to disenchant them. That wouldn't be fair of me to say that to them. Unless they were, I was getting a call. This person last night was praying and he wants some reality check or whatever. I said, well, then I would present myself. Outside of that, most people aren't looking for a reality check. They like to say the word reality. They don't want to question it. They'll question others, but they won't question themselves. We're easy to understand, Charles, when we start hearing it, when we're literally listening inwards and say, yeah, that person's where they're at.
Yeah, I couldn't talk to my grandpa about, as a teenager, I used to always say, I am God. I know. And, well, I said it one time and he gave me the look he gave me was, I can't talk about this topic. He was very religious, so I didn't want to disrespect my grandpa.
But it's okay to disrespect oneself, as we're trying not to disrespect somebody else.
Yeah, but my grandpa, there was no one plugging him. At that age, he'd probably have a stroke and fall out.
True.
Because he voted, he was into the system. He basically had trust in the system. And me, even at a teenage age, I had no trust in the system. The system's just a leech sucking onto you until it just sucks you dry of life, sucks your spirit dry, your soul, and then it moves to the next.
We would be no different, Charles.
Yeah.
Sorry, Charles. We would be no different if we were millionaires living off our boat and going fishing every other weekend or whatever. We wouldn't be in these kind of conversations. That's just the cruel reality of, if we're going to use reality, the biblical story, don't make me rich nor poor. Thanks for not making me rich or poor, because those have their own dynamics. Being poor, most people would be thinking, I'm trying to get out of this well. Being rich, I'm trying to maintain it. It's usually the people that are in the middle, which is most of us.
I always talk about this stuff, though. But I get what you're saying. Like, I've lost friends because we would be fishing and I would bring stuff up like this. But I don't know. You might be right.
I hope I'm not, but if there's a right to it,
quality.
We all can relate more to cat videos than we can actually talking about spiritual stuff. And when I say that, I'm talking about, it's the quality over the quantity, but most people are going to pursue the quantity. So, those cats are funny. Okay. Well, do you think maybe the cat are spiritual? No, they're not spiritual. Okay. Even to entertain the ideal, people are quick to say no. Do you think 9/11 was an organized event? No way, Dom. It doesn't happen that way. Okay. So I guess the C building or whatever, that happened by itself. Yeah, it just happened. Okay. At that point, Charles, you're better off talking to that peak coming in through the wind, I guess. But there is people, obviously that's what these platforms do for some people. They have an opportunity to share with each other. Hopefully it resonates. Hopefully it doesn't bring a hive mentality. Oh, we all agree with each other. No, that's the last thing you want to do, start agreeing with each other. Isn't that what we're trying to flee from? You want to challenge things. You don't want to start agreeing with things. But that's challenging for some people, because some people, when they have ideals, they think the ideal and who they are the same thing. I said, no, it's an ideal. It's not who you are. But then again, that's for them to figure out.
You said you were at a crystal show, Don?
No, I was just joking. I've been to crystal shows before, but I was just kind of teasing the fact that when you were showing some of our crystals, I was just saying we're at a show, but with Charles.
Oh,
I do enjoy crystals. I've had numerous. My wife's had lots of crystals. So
yeah, I think they're healing or they help in some way. They definitely give off energy because used to watch this guy Subtle Infinity. I still do sometimes, and he made Organite. That's what I couldn't think of. Organite, it has like copper and all these different crystals and stuff in it. It's a mixture of copper, silver, gold, whatever you want to put in it. Crystals, different ones. You crush them up, and then you put a some sort of chemical thing to bind it all together in the shape of a pyramid. It's called Organite, and somebody was using that and what she talked about, Sarah, about putting that stuff. What is it called? You use to take the clouds away or the chemtrails or whatever.
Oh, just the vinegar bowls?
Yeah, I never tried vinegar, but I heard Organite works.
I've heard that too, and I haven't experimented with that. I'd like to make my own organ. Yeah.
Put it in water and freeze it. You'll see all the energy coming off it. So crystals definitely give off energy.
I'm thinking about making my own vinegar, and I've seen like amazing results just from like, putting out like 4 bowls over like quite a large property and having a pretty extensive coverage and it being cleared within a few hours. To me, I feel like to some extent that could be easier. Well, maybe not. What do I say? Because you'd have to constantly refill it. I guess it would just depend. I know there's a whole, because like I have not dived in that heavy. I have read up on some of Reich and everything, but it's not like I have experimented with the organ enough to say, like it's profound. But I know it has like huge effects with high voltage power lines, because like a lot of people put them around the base of them, and then they show the meter, before and after.
I think some of the stuff like crystals, they do cleanse. They also absorb. You can also probably, people do it, plants. There's a lot of value into feng shui. How your place is located, where it's located, its direction plays a role. So now if you do have crystals and you place them in the corners of most of your house, that, certain ones like selenite or whatever, that brings value. Same with plants again. Animals are no different. Animals can absorb somebody's disease, and then you wonder why the animal gets sick. Or you hear about a woman or a man, they have cancer and then they have remission, but meanwhile their husband eventually gets sick. We forget about cleansing for ourselves. Water does the same idea. So it's not just about crystals per se, but they do bring value. And then it's like planting with different kinds of plants. You have to have cross plants. So you can have cross crystals working with essential oils, working with water, working with plants, how much sun you have in certain rooms, which way it's facing. Again, this is a lot of, we as a species have been introduced to philosophy, science, biology, and all that kind of stuff, math. To think one solves everything or one works for everything, eventually, like anything, it'll become immune to it. It might not necessarily always work, but they are nice looking. And looking at something that's a purple crystal, it might engage because there's value into color. That actually might bring value, the shape of it. It's like somebody seeing a fancy Mercedes or a Ferrari. Its appearance might give you a feeling. And in that feeling, it might not put your body in disease. It might actually do what we might call healing or just maintaining your energies. Because healing your body just means that it's not able to maintain itself. I went on a little bit there, guys. Sorry.
Don't apologize.
I did that for me.
I can't help it. I do the same thing.
And it's like, okay, Dom, you can go on more, but I don't want to overrule the conversation. I know enough that just,
You're not.
Yeah. So maybe because I've been used to certain groups or whatever. Some guys just don't know. A little hints like, if it's that important, you can hold that thought for a bit, or at least realize thoughts are always there. It's.
Yeah, that's part of my lesson, because that has to do with like my ADHD and then also being the youngest and never feeling heard. And now that I'm trying to find my voice, right? Like we talked about, that's part of why I interrupt so much. So if I haven't explained that to all of you who are new to my amped up behavior, it has a little bit to do with that. But I am learning that exactly what you said. Like if it's that important, it'll be there.
But you have a lot to share, probably, Sarah. You probably have a lot to share that's been bottled up.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And I don't have the kind of connections I've changed a lot about my friendships. I mean, I had a lot of really close friends. I mean, they're still in my life, but it's, it's different. And a lot of everybody sees things differently, which is good. This is, we need that perspective, but to be able to have these like deeper conversations without triggering people in that context has been difficult. So finding this community is why I talk about why it's so nice. So appreciate that. Yeah, Sherry. I have to say it that way. My Sherry.
Is that for the French purpose? Saying Sherry?
I believe so, because it's what's the I can't think of it all of a sudden when I usually always can. The saying. It's a little bit different than her name, but I love it regardless.
Cherie.
Good chaos. Good chaos. Nobody's messing up any kind of flow. You should get. I do have to get going kind of soon because I have a semi bigger day. I got a birthday party to go to. We're going bowling.
Nice. So bowling fun. I miss the bowling alley. It used to be about a mile and a half up the street. There used to be a bowling alley. I remember when I was a child and it closed down. I think it was a bowling alley, and they used to have drive-in theaters around here. Them are all gone.
Oh yeah, those exist in some places, but yeah, I live in this little town, so it's like it's actually really nice because it's not too crazy, and like this is all like neighbors like that live around here that we're doing this with, and they're really cool, and like they help out a ton. Like just like one of them came over and installed this cover awning over the outdoor water heater, and they've just been like really accessible, and it's like so nice. So anyway, yeah, and I don't go bowling all the time. These are little things that it's fun. And then I have to go to I don't have to. I want to go to I call him my nephew, but he's not technically blood related, but I'm just very close with his family, and I've been there with him through his whole life. So he's 13 and he's now playing football, and his team's going to the playoff games for the area, and he's doing really well and stuff. And so he's almost as tall as me, and mind you guys, I'm 6'1". He's 13. His dad is a giant, but regardless, I am looking forward to it because of that connection with him. I'm not necessarily like heavy into sports, not that I'm trying to justify anything, but just it's nice. It's nice to be able to have those little moments with people.
I played baseball. My mom barely came to my games, but when she did, it meant a lot to me. But sports is good up until you get to like
right. Yeah,
college and major leagues where it's rigged.
Exactly.
And they get paid $100 million a year when someone who breaks their back and works hard barely gets 25 grand a year.
Yeah, and everybody's like starting to agree like the amount that they get paid and like the whole like shit show around it is just it's making it worse. But I grew up with sports. My dad coached my teams, and he coached my brother's teams, and I played basketball, and I ended up having knee surgery at 16 and 17. But I was like, because of my height and everything, I was trying to get myself into the WNBA, and clearly there's a reason my path didn't go down that way. But yeah, I was on crutches for a year, and I still love basketball. I still greatly enjoy playing sports every once in a while. But yeah, now I just like I joke, my sport is hiking, sea in the woods.
Yeah, basketball takes a lot of toll, especially on certain people with their knees.
Yeah, and it all had to do with my foot. I was super flat-footed, and it was because as a kid, I was, like I said, I'd play outside all day. But guess what I wore? I'd wear these like jelly shoes with these hard bottoms, and so I wasn't proper. Like my foot ended up, kind of getting messed up in the shape of it. So when I played basketball, I was constantly rolling with that flat-footedness. And then it caused my injury, which was my kneecap would dislocate. And eventually one time I had like kind of a difficult position, and it took a piece of my femur bone. So then it all became about the weight bearing aspect of it. And so now I very much do a lot of exercises, especially on that leg, to prevent it from getting irritated. Cause like I'll be on a hike sometimes, and every once in a while I'll kind of catch funny. And then I have to do this like routine, and it works. So, and then now I've actually been having little to no problems because I am focusing on like stepping on unusual surfaces. Like there's this book, my neighbor, she's in her 70s. She gave me this book called Successful Aging, just because some of the information is very fascinating, but it has to do with like, walking on unusual surfaces and rolling your feet like on rocks. And this kind of has to do with like walking barefoot in the woods. I mean, obviously there's places where there's some prickly things and you have to be careful, but I have started experimenting more with that and just walking barefoot in general, but making sure when I do, I try to not just walk on like cement, walk on unusual like surface, walk on rocks. Like I have been getting my feet used to that. And I feel like it is making a big difference. I do a series of stretching too, but I get all this wonderful, like popping, like not popping, but it's, well, I shouldn't say not popping, it is, but getting my position, just right. And getting into that, to get that kind of movement. It's wonderful. And it's been a huge benefit, I can tell. And also just in general with my overall health, doing that kind of grounding has been wonderful.
Welcome barefooted. Probably all those, you have all those lines on your foot, the midrims, I think they're called. So you're playing with all of that. Yes. It's another form of like acupuncture. We just do it with our hands a lot. So yeah, that would probably aid you in a lot of ways.
I've broken, shattered, or not shattered, hairline fracture. In a fight, I've told this story before. My roommate was black belt in Kempo, and he was mad because I was choking him up in a headlock, and he spin kicked my shin and hairline fractured it, and then I had broke my left ankle in a basketball riot when I was younger. Unfortunately, yes, violence. And up to that point in the basketball game, I had never broken a bone. Thank God I didn't completely break the ankle, but I feel like I always have to do like turn my ankle a lot to make it feel better. Sometimes it's painful, like it's tightening up.
Yeah, that's a lot of what it is. It's a lot of related to scar tissue is the fascia connection, and it's helpful because it's connected with your ligaments. It's like a substance that keeps them kind of stuck to the bone, and it's about sort of releasing that so that the muscle can move more fluid. And this again is very much attributed to trauma and or injury. And this is something that I'm actually gearing up. I've decided that with current state of things and needing a little extra money, I'm going to get a certification. And this is part of me wanting to start my journey to have a healing foundation and to become an independent practitioner, but it's all massage. And I'm going to go to this school that specializes in the reflexology aspect and actually does get into Eastern medicine. So there's a little bit of a crossover. And then with I still have my sleep certifications, and so I can still, I technically, what sucks about it is that you have to, even if you were a physician assistant in that field, you still have to work under a board certified doctor technically to get insurance to cover things. And clearly I'm going to go alternative routes, but I'm just going to have that credential to be able to continue sleep education. And you guys know that I love the brain activity and getting into mental health. And that's also going to be another huge part, because I just found out there's a practitioner in town, in my little town, who's doing German new medicine. I'm like, this is freaking awesome. So I'm going to go in and try to talk to her, maybe do an interview, I was thinking, and kind of see what her process was to go down that path. But that would be ideal. And to be honest, I would be willing to put in 10 years of school. I just don't want to go through the Western medicine programs. I just want to dive in and take in as much of the information as I can. But you guys know also that I'm very heavy on the emotion to disease connection. Stress is contagious.
Yeah.
So yes, on the bottom of the feet, Dom.
No, I'm with that. As you said, that one part is that on that. What would be getting stressed? The physical, the emotional plane, the mental plane. Could be all.
All of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Crystal's disappeared. I forgot he even came up. He don't even come by, really.
Yeah, he said he was gonna try to pop in later, I think, if he had time. So
yeah, I gotta make something to eat. I have to. I don't know. I might upload chapter 6 and 7 just to finish the book, because I spent all day yesterday. 2 of the videos I had fully did 2 chapters, and I realized somehow the sound wasn't on. That's 45 minutes wasted. I had to erase it, do it over. But anyway.
But you know why? Because it might come out better. Do you see? Like that used to happen to me all the time, because I used to edit like back in the day when the program would like just collapse on you really easily. And this is like early 2000s, because my dad had a video business, so I used to play around, and like put it on a VHS tape prior to DVD days kind of style. Regardless, I would find that when things would fail for me, I could just go back and it would end up being better. So sometimes I feel like there's a reason why things don't work out, because it's like meant to be either redone or to allow a certain amount of time for something else to present itself,
Yeah, there's background noise in the videos from the fan, but I was like, no, I'm not doing this over. It's gonna stay. But yeah, I don't have soundproof. I live in an apartment building, and there's constant loud cars going by. I can't help that, It's just what it is,
Yeah.
Someone
I just had a
plane
street
to run
sweeper.
a soundproof. They could send the soundproof equipment, if people complain about the background noise. Other than
that one you're doing on Manly P. Hall have other people actually done podcasts on that too, Charles?
Oh, not that I know of.
Okay, I was going to say if you can refer to that, just in case other people get the heads up while you're reading it, people can follow it, knowing that they've already read it or heard it before.
Yeah, I put the pages of the book. That's why I have to go back and edit, and sometimes the page, it looks, when you use the YouTube on this video creator, so I got to screen record the book while I'm reading it, and then I go back and I got to cut every page in half so I can make it bigger and people could see the letters and follow along. And some of these books, they took pictures, so the pages are all lopsided. You got to crop them and a lot of that. But anyway, it's worth it. And I have The Occult Anatomy of Man, which is really good, that book. And then I just finished The Initiates of the Flame, and now I'm going to do The All-Seeing Eye by Manly P. Hall. And then I have some of the Secret Teachings of All Ages. I did live streams, and I've read almost every single chapter in that book. It's 200 and something pages. But I don't. One of the live streams hard to find. But yeah, I'm gonna redo it, and I'm gonna do that whole book over. So then it'll just be the book instead of open panels and all that. It's just some people just want to read the book and that's it, or listen to the book. So yeah, I don't know why I like doing it. I think it's because I could read, learn something, and I think too, instead of just regurgitating someone's, I'm gonna do a follow-up video and compare stuff, like, I don't know, show what I got out of it and what I think, because a lot of Manly P. Hall pretty much takes religion and how these preachers preach it, and he kind of like he don't teach the religion like the preachers do of everything's evil and you're gonna burn in hell. He describes it as the body, the pit of hell is the lower back and all that, and I think that is what the Bible's really coded, that and other stuff.
I think Manly P. Hall is the one that I heard him talk about. Truth is actually an energy.
Blavatsky too. I gotta look into her books. Dominic Blavatsky. Yeah.
She's got the one on The Secret too. Actually, I think it's 3 24-hour videos, because if you read it out loud, whoever did the podcast, and there's another one. I think it's 8 hours. A lot of this stuff is great I've done it years anyway, where I'll turn it on, put my headphones on, go to sleep, just let it run, because the subconscious takes a lot of information.
People get on me, like I'm not going to name people, but some people like, oh, they're Masons and I'm like thinking, you can't look past a label and actually maybe learn something, Of course, you're not going to agree with everything everyone says. Like I always say, that's life. That's the balance of life. But because someone's a so-called Mason or this or that, you can't look past that and read a book. That's why a lot of people are stuck, because they can't elevate, because they're being anchored down by belief systems and racist ideologies. And
well, it's even like the Satanic Bible. Person wants to hear it or read it, take it for what it is. But unfortunately, some people figure saying a couple of words like "I don't like it," opposed to appreciating somebody spent hours, weeks, years, or a whole bunch of people editing a book. So there must be value in whatever teachings it is. No different listening to the people that talk about being a left-hand path, Luciferians, hence the Satanic Bible. If people would truly read it and they're honest with themselves, they realize, oh fuck, I'm a left-hand path person. I say, yes, you are. You just weren't aware of it. It's
Satan is. I just look at Satan and God as the good and bad within self. It's a balance label, or Jesus with the halos, the higher light, and Satan is the lower materialistic light. The light that materializes. That's Satan.
Well, it goes back
Jesus
to
represents the soul and the higher energy.
It's like if a demon, or we'll say a demon or a spirit, comes to visit you, and a person said, well, you're here to serve me. I said, no, I'm not. I'm here to serve whatever sent me here. To be disobedient and expect to serve a human. No, I'm here to serve and say, listen, do you really want to be a crook? Because I'm here. I'll teach you the ropes. This is where
who's more powerful. What do you think, Dominic? I just wanted to interrupt to ask you.
Say that again. What's that?
Who do you think's more powerful? I mean, these witches allegedly conjure up the spirit, right? So wouldn't the person that's conjuring up the spirit be more powerful than that spirit that got conjured up by the person,
Well, usually the alchemy, people call them witches, but the alchemy, let's say women that actually do certain things, they can probably harness white magic. Now you're asking if there's something behind all of that, probably, and they'll make them say, listen, go to the woods, get a couple of chicken feathers and some eagle feathers. But meanwhile, the entities are saying, well, we can give them whatever they want. We just want to see if they're loyal and obedient, So again, it's one of those things where we play with magic on a regular basis. Look at the cars that we have. Look at the currency, how the mind works. That's all alchemy, magic, call it whatever you want. It's
when you cook food, you're doing witchcraft.
To a certain point. Who gave us the ideal of smoking weed or doing ayahuasca? Those are just mind altering things. Something must have given us that ability. Unless we can go to an average human being and say, listen, do you know how to make a car? Well, not really. Do you know how to make rubber? Not really. Do you know how to make the internet? Not really. I said, well, then who the fuck gave us all this technology? Maybe we all forget we should be the Truman in the Truman story. And everybody else are too busy giggling. Can you believe Dominic and Sarah and Charles are trying to figure things out? I said, well, then what are you guys doing? Well, I'm just trying to live my, simple existence.
Yeah. I've always had this mindset, thanks to like Wu-Tang Clan, that mindset of, well, not just to them. I've always been trying to figure stuff out, even as a child. And when, that saying that be careful what you do around children, are always paying attention. They sure are, because that was me. Always trying to figure out what people are saying, what they're doing. Nosiest child ever.
It's kind of like when people go into hypnosis, what is actually coming out when you get hypnotized? That's the thing that's there the whole time. So when a child says, well, I'm picking up my parents, they're not telling me they're getting a divorce, but I'm picking up the energy. So it goes back to, there's something that's always here. Call it demon, or whatever you want to call them, but it's there. So we do, we pick up a lot of things. That's why when somebody says, I'm intuitive, well, who's giving you the message? I'm analytical. Again, the mind will work to a certain point. Hence, you use the word mindset. We set our mind opposed to using the mind. So somebody that just wants to read information, the mind says, okay, so you've chosen to be a scholarly person. Another person says, I don't want to read a book. I don't even want to hear it. I want to pick it up in a different form. Then you want to be intuitive. There's many ways of learning it. Like if we truly thought that we were free agents, then I should be able to speak Sanskrit right now if I wanted to, or speak Greek or Hebrew. Somebody tells me an African language, I should be able to speak it. It doesn't work that way. We still have to learn our crafts. So when people talk about things that are, we'll call them witches or wizards, what's a craft then? Like the word
That's the
spelling.
crap I've mastered.
Yeah.
It's called poetry and rhyming. I should play my new song at the end of every live stream.
Mm-hmm. You have lyrics. Well done.
Cherie said Manley had 2 assistants, Ronnie Pontiac and Stephen Ross. He's had both of them on his podcast. I thought Manly P.L. is dead. Long gone. Am I wrong? Because how did Manly have him on his podcast? That's what she's saying.
Didn't Jordan Maxwell get most of his works at one time, even though he's not with us anymore?
I don't know. I think Manly P. Hall was a brilliant mind. Some say he was a woman. I don't know. I really don't care about none of that. I just want to read what was written down. But I'm gonna go do some witchcraft now. I'm gonna cut up some hella.
And we lost him. He's out. Bye, Dom. Thank you. And I hate to do this to you too, Charles, but I was actually gonna try to respectfully wait, but say my piece. And again, appreciate it. My first time on here. I've been listening. I think you've seen me, but I really enjoy the conversations that you're helping to facilitate. There's some really good hosts in our community. I think you're one of them, but just appreciate it. This is a great place. Away from the drama. Wink, wink. Lisa.
Yeah, I appreciate you, sir, for coming up. I was wondering, who's S. Ra? I almost didn't let you up because I've had problems letting people up I don't know. But I figured out ways around that.
And
To just put a
what's
picture up.
and sucks is that I thought I linked this to my. It would be nice if that kind of held up, but if it kept linked to your YouTube, so it showed you that I had verified myself through my YouTube. Regardless, I was prepared to show you my face because I get that. And I've been trying to ask people the same thing, like just give me some sign it's you, that I know who this is. Because obviously we all know Bex has been a victim, and I think all of us are trying to avoid that now. Well, and she's not the only one. You guys know Alien Scientist. He had and he's got like I think over 100K followers, and he did an open panel and let somebody come up, and I actually saw it, and it was like for a split second. He was really fast, but yeah, it was full on exposure. It was a full on D.
I'd be happy to get 1,000. I'm climbing up there very slowly, but I'll get there. Definitely.
He also has like connections with science labs and people that are doing all propulsion technology, and then he does all this like disclosure, and he's been able to do interviews, so that's why his numbers are up, like because people are really into that. And don't get me wrong, I really respect his show, but I can't watch all of it. Some of it's just too much. It's like what how does it serve me, like Dom has said. And it's the same thing, Bernie's doing a shit ton of experiments, and some of it I really get into, and some of it I realize like it's just too much. Like there's so much you can take in, and you have to sort of filter through what's serving you at this time and what's going to help you propel in what you're doing. But that's why we're all connected, right? Is my opinion, maybe. I am all.
What book did you say you had?
I just bought they separated it nicely. I'll show it.
I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna try to collect all the Manly P. Hall, because I think I don't know. For the most part, I've downloaded some PDFs, and they're always taking pages out. The pineal gland, the eye of the God. Yeah, you're God.
It's just it's just that chapter 16.
Huh. Yeah, we could have been genetically manipulated and created. Like I think there. Well, I don't think I know there was taller people for sure. They built a lot of these old world architecture, and we were genetically manipulated. That's why. What do you think about as far as living 180 years, 600 years? Like Enoch and my other Enoch and his great grandfather Methuselah. I like Methuselah. He lived on the top of a mountain in a cave. And if you watch the movie Noah, when he went to see Methuselah at the top of the mountain, and he drank that stuff to make him trip and talk to the Creator. And the Creator, when he had a vision, it showed them selling children to get meat and all this stuff, and they were eating the animals raw, and that was all wrong. For all the religious people who say that's why they were put here, for us to eat them. No, they weren't. If we were meant to eat animals,
I think that's complicated, and I say that because of like the narrative of Inky and Enlil, and the whole like concept that like our entire existence is based off of the polarity. You know what I'm saying? Like they are technically the creation of the moon and the sun and the whole polarity concept. So my question is sometimes looking before that, and I only say that because of the balance of everything. I just and you really truly can't ever be fully vegan, and the reason is because of what you need to put into the soil for things to grow, which is often like bone ash. Like a lot of people keep containers of bone to grind up to sprinkle into their gardens.
Maybe that's why. I want to know why they. That's damn. I didn't know that. And a good point is,
yeah.
You know where the term family tree came from? When they used to bury their family members around a certain tree, and they would deteriorate and get sucked up by the tree. But anyway.
Yeah, that's how I want to go.
Me too. Well, I don't get
and
this
here's another
casket.
thing interesting about at least apple trees that I brought up in the chat, and I can't remember who I heard this from. Bex might remember, but the idea that apple trees only about 20% of the bearing fruit provides what is allowed to regrow. So really, apple trees have to survive off of grafting. And then the whole story of Adam and Eve, and the fact that Eve came off of the rib, which holds, and Dom made this connection, and the rib is what holds the majority of our stem cells, or a huge amount of our stem cells at the base, at the tip of the rib. And women were created off of that. Think about that in the concept of the apple tree.
Think about when you slice all the fruit in half, right? It looks like a vagina, a vesica piscis, a portal. And you put the seed in Mother Earth.
The star shape in the inside. Yep.
Huh?
There's a star shape within an apple. Like if you remove the structure of where the seed structure sits, there's generally a star. Am I wrong, or am I just like making this up in my head?
Well, you slice an apple in half, the way it's shaped, you got that top part looks like, I don't want to say it, but yeah.
Sure. Oh, and the butt. It looks like the butt.
Yeah. We
can just get straight to it. We're not talking about it in that manner.
Every fruit, man. I took pictures. I was like, vesica piscis and fruit. And every fruit. I was shocked.
And it all comes down to the toroidal shape, which is really what that flying rainbow spaghetti or lasagna.
The fruit has a duality. It has the woman shape and the seeds. That would be the man, so you could reproduce.
Yep. And so I'm starting to see it as like the tetrahedral and maybe the flying lasagna rainbow or whatever. Anyway, I'll show you that. So when I come on, I'll find the diagram of that, and I'll get a little bit more literature behind it so I can explain it, because you might find that fascinating. But that's the other thing. I am trying to get like better with like having stuff put together, so when I come on, I can do a little bit more of a presentation. And Charles, Bex and I are starting this debate series with a bunch of other people. Like, you've heard of Shem, or he was Tartarian Truth. His channel got taken down, but
wasn't it the son of Noah?
No, I don't think unless I don't know better, but not connected to Noah. It's just his first name, and then his.
I want to look it up. Let me look it up.
Tartarian Truth is his. Well, that's actually his spoof channel. He does spoofs on archaics.
Okay, because Tartaria is not the whole world. Tartaria was a country in China and Russia. It's in the maps. People say Tartaria was the whole realm. I don't agree with that.
No,
but if people do,
it's in the maps, and we talk about it. Shem talks about it. He and I get into some of this because I'm doing a whole thing on the Russian American company, and then how that is interesting because of the connection with the flags and their coat of arms and stuff they use, and the timing of when they were coming over here, and start, especially with the Orthodox infiltration and the fall of the Roman Empire, and the start with the Congress of Vienna, the start of the German Confederation. And then if you really look into how much all of those countries are just more or less branches of the Byzantine Empire, which then if you start to look into that, has deep connections to frickin' ancient Egypt, which is what I'm trying to double check and make sure I have enough information on. But the fact that the actual phoenix was double-headedly often depicted, and that is actually what the eagle became. And that is a symbol for brotherhood, which connects to Enlil and Enki, because of the fact that they were brothers and they split, and that is the whole dynamic of our freaking construct with polarity.
Well, I don't think they come from other planets. I think they come from other lands. But yeah, the son of Noah is Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Yeah, when you said Shem, I said, I knew it. I said, I know that name from somewhere. Because Noah, even though I'm not a Bible thumper and I'm not in no religion and I don't bow to no deities or none of that, the only deity that I show respect to is Mother Earth, but and my
Thank you.
family, but they're not deities. I forgot. Oh, I like that movie Noah for that one reason. And even in
I did
Genesis, I
see
like the
that, but
part of the Bible where it says we're supposed to protect Mother Earth. We were given this place to protect it and protect the animals, and yet we don't do anything to these people that destroy and poison us. And if someone came to your house, right, and did something to the food and poisoned your brother and he died, you wouldn't let that slide. But yet we just sit back because of money and material stuff, and just and the doggy dog world concept.
Yeah, like I think you're a series of traumas and just like this repeated history, like we gave up or something. I don't know for sure, but we definitely have allowed for too many excuses, which I think is the compounding factor why we're at right now. But we've also allowed like this like fear to take over, and a lot of that had to do with our own personal health, this belief that we aren't powerful enough to heal ourselves. But it's complicated, obviously, and I feel like there is a heavy hidden laying hand with that changeover of that Roman Empire aspect and the religious aspect, and how it's a story as old as time, just rewritten. Anyway, so
I'm gonna end this at 4 hours. 10 more minutes.
Wait, what? I have 10 more minutes?
I'm gonna end the live in 10 minutes at 4 hours even.
Perfect. I'm gonna let you close it out then. And again, appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to, like I said, I'm doing that show, and it would be awesome if you wanted to be a part of it. There's like gonna be some.
Can you put something in the chat? I want to make sure I sub to your channel, sir.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, can you? I'm gonna put my email. If you could potentially just send me a quick email, or because I'm gonna send out like a more personal. But I can always poke at you too, and if you have it on your page, I'll find it.
I'll put it in the back of my email.
I appreciate all you guys in the chat too. This has been a real so many of you have kind of been a little bit newer in my YouTube life journey. But I just have enjoyed a lot of the conversations, and so many of you guys have really good points and perspectives. So it's been, appreciate it. Thank you guys. And looking forward to the next one. I'll be back, Charles, because I'm, like I said, you're kind of one of my main ones. And I remember Bex was saying something like that too. And I found myself coming back here like, yeah, this is nice. There's a nice feeling here, nice energy. So appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I got your email. I forgot to put mine, and I'll do that, and then I'll go. You guys can listen to the sound of my keyboard. Oh, and I'll put, by the way, that's an open, if anybody's interested, especially in being part of the debate, I'm not looking, I don't need to have all big channels. I want this, I've talked about this, I want the small people. And there's people that maybe, I've only been up on panels 1 or 2 times, but this would be a good opportunity for you to get an allotted time to speak and the ability to prepare for what you're going to talk about. And I just think that I want to give space for that, but then also have fun with it. I'm not trying to, I've talked about, I don't want to be super serious. I think we can actually have some really funny conversations. Like we were talking about, let's do a debate on does size matter? And that could mean so many different things. So anyway, I'm looking forward to those kind of collaborations. Thank you. I got your email and
put myself out as usual. Every time I went to go to YouTube to sub to your channel, but I'm already subbed.
Thank you. And guys, too, I've noticed with Rebecca's channel that I've been unsubbed twice in a matter of 2 weeks. And I don't know how much you guys have seen that, but definitely, keep your eyes peeled.
You're always doing it to me. That's why my channel barely goes anywhere. If you're looking for videos 4 years old to take down, I mean, they got me under the microscope. Why? I don't know. They act like I'm this evil murderer and You know, I don't disrespect people. We don't argue here barely ever, maybe once in a great while. But there's no disrespect. We're a calm, cool channel that conversate, and yet I'm always being attacked. I don't get it. You know, I don't.
It's your energy. It's so sort of maybe get used to it to some extent, but just like it's about learning to put up your own barriers so that you don't take on the bullshit of it, and realizing that like it's a good. I just said it. We're the good chaos crew. You're here to break up what's stagnant, and that's what gets people triggered and irritated.
Yeah.
So just hold on to that good chaos thought and put good intentions behind what you do, and nothing will take you down anymore. And start like, what do you want? What do you like right now? I want sustainable land. I want to be out in the woods. I do not need a large space. I actually am like looking forward to the idea of having a little tucked in cabin, because I lived in a travel trailer for 4 years. It was actually decent size, but it was like very cozy. It was newer though, and it was insulated really crappily. Anyway, I'm focusing on that, and I'm encouraging everybody, like, just like, what do you want right now? This is a crazy time, but like, you know, where's your happy place? And I'm still going to educate that I will never be able to not. So in some format, I'm still going to put out work in that way, but just a matter of like where I want to be. And that sounds wonderful right now. So I'll see you in the woods. Okay.
All right.
Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Sarah. Peace. Peace to everyone in the chat. I guess I'll upload maybe those last 2 chapters for anyone interested. But I'm gonna start a new book, and I'm working on some other videos too. I do a little bit of everything: open panel, presentations, read books, whatever. The only thing I don't participate in is talking shit, and none of that. It's hard enough to bring people together than to waste my energy on more division. We're already divided enough. But peace to the gods and goddesses, and I appreciate everyone. I'm about to go grub on some Mexican food, or just food. I gotta stop putting labels on stuff. Peace. G sharp. Smoking in G sharp. The Bex Factor. Be what it is. What's good? What's good, B? I'ma shorten it, B. Peace to Jack's Dreaming. Mindful Exposures. Thanks again, Sarah. Cherie. Marcel. Dominic. Thanks again. Random fan. Christos. The Michigander. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to do it off the top of my head too. As far as it lets me go back. Who else came? Faceplant. Who else came? I'm trying to think of everyone. If I missed anyone, my bad. But peace out. I'm out of here. Peace and love to everybody. There we go.